vibe. It's cool. Nice. Nice. I hope this audio is coming through good.
This world's tragic. No one cares. I'm sorry. I think we're good now.
Are you back?
Oh, yeah. You're not embarrassed to me playing 20-year-old stuff, are you?
No, it's cool, man. It's MTV. I mean, I think, you know, it's just so cool. You know, I meet people that are multi-talented and do different, you know, different things. You know, it's like you could have just done, you know, I was thinking, well, I could have just done this one thing, but, you know, I just have, you know, being multi-talented can be kind of a bit of a curse, at least for me, because, you know, like in the last project, it took on way too much and I couldn't do it all. You know what I mean? I couldn't do it all, but I was like, oh, I can do this.
I've always been like a sort of one-man army of creativity. You know, I do music videos and I built a studio in Philadelphia, and you know, which I sold recently to move out of the city because it's turning into the apocalypse zone in Philadelphia. So yeah, I've always been that guy that just I don't know, even without money, I just managed to learn how to do the things that I needed to do. Yeah, but you're right.
Although you were with the band, you were with the band for a while, right?
Yeah, but it was really me doing everything, and the band was just for live. You know, this is us playing along to a computer.
So do you still know these guys?
Oh yeah, old
still jam with them?
No, I don't see them much anymore. Oh, sorry, I should have warned you. There's cursing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's great, man. I love it. It's really cool. It's really cool. I've been the same way. You know, for me, it's like, it's just working with people. I don't know. You know,
that's why I prefer computers. I prefer computers.
It's so much easier, like with Zzenn song, you know, it's so much easier just to do my thing and then I'm satisfied, you know, versus, you know, it just can get really complicated. I don't know how people pull it off. When I was younger, it was easier. But as I got older,
when you were younger, you have more friends too, and you hang out, and you have all this time to do things with your friends. When you get older and kids and wives and houses and responsibilities, you just don't have time. And you know as well as I do that so many musicians are like, you need to babysit them or always constantly be helping them out because they're a mess. And you don't have time after a while.
Well, you know, for me, I also got down to what is my music? It's my craft. It's my art. It's like being a painter. And when you're painting, you don't have like 5 other people painting your picture, you know? And you're right. As you get older, it gets easier, but I'm just happy to craft it. You know, like with Zzenn song, hardly anybody's heard it, but you know, I like it and I'm satisfied as an artist. You know, I mean, to have really achieved artistic satisfaction, to me, I was just such a deep breath. I was like, wow, that's it. That's how, wow.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the journey in learning how to do this stuff, especially learning like production and recording and overdubbing and harmonies and how to layer instruments. I'm almost sad that, you know, like I'm sure there's always new things that you can learn, but the major stuff, you know, I got a lot of it figured out, and then it just becomes sometimes just do it better.
And isn't creativity what it's about? You know what I mean? It's about that creative jam. It's like,
I'm sorry for the technical issues. I totally forgot that if I would play your stream, it has to have the volume up to play on mine. So, but I just checked in with mine.
Perfectly fine. Cool.
Looks like we're good.
So what do you want to talk about, man? What's on your mind? What's going on?
Well, you know, did you know that people are kind of angry that I'm even talking to you? I'm sure a few people.
You're bad.
You know, drama. But here's the thing. And also, I want to offer an apology. Yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room. So for those that don't know, from my channel, you know, a lot of people that listen to my show also would listen to Zzenn some time ago. And then Zzenn was having, I don't want to tell, you could tell that part of the story, but Zzenn had a tough time, and he said some things to audience members, and the audience really reacted badly, and everybody got pissed off at him. Yeah. And then I want to apologize, because I should have, as a fellow creative person and a sometimes friend, right, I should have reached out to you and said, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? And I didn't really do that. And number two, I made it a joke on my show, and people were laughing. Like, I would say, you leeches, shut up and donate, you leeches. Like, give me some money.
It was one of the dumbest things I ever said.
Yeah, but
I mean, out of 700 videos, out of 700
I understand
videos,
that people were mad at you, but it's been a while. Yeah. Maybe Zzenn has had some time to reflect on that and understands why people were upset. And I believe that all people deserve a road to redemption. We all do things that we're not proud of. We all make mistakes, or we misjudge the situation or overreact. I'm big on overreacting. You know what I mean? Like, somebody will say something that I consider a slight against me, and I overreact or whatever. But it's been a while, and like, I think it's okay to forgive a guy that made a mistake or said something he shouldn't have, or maybe,
and it's
we don't know what was going on. Like, you were under, we talked a little bit about this off air. You were under a lot of stress at the time. Yeah. Right.
Nuts.
Yeah. So you're under a lot of stress. Somebody says something in the live chat, and I get it too. My favorite are the audio files. I got 4 different microphones, right? All very high quality. If I use this one, I get comments that your mic is too tinny, it's not bassy enough, or whatever. Right. The audio, and I get pissed off after a while. Like, what do you?
Well, when you're one person and you've got like hundreds
we have a similar
people
situation.
You're always gonna mess up. I mean, for me, I don't feel like it's redemption, and it's okay if people. I honestly don't feel like
Well, somebody said that you were going to deflect responsibility in my Facebook.
No.
So what I want to say is, you understand why you angered these people, right?
Absolutely.
And you do know that what you did was wrong, right?
Well, here's the thing. I could have handled it different. Listen, I could have handled it differently. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't really get into a guilt trip, because I was, there was just so much going on. And this was really the first aspect of Unspirituality, was really in a way for me to just break all the rules and make all the mistakes I could. I knew I was going to reboot it. I knew what I was doing wasn't going to be long stream. I was like Mr. Left-Hand Paths and all this stuff. And I mean, I did it for a lot. There's just so much to that story. I can't even begin to try to get people to understand how this runaway train made it very difficult for me to ride my bike sanely. And I was reacting, and I did react. And had I done it different, I could have, had I gone back, I would have done it differently. But the point was I realized even before that whole thing happened, I was already I was like, I need to reboot this thing. There were too many things in it that I just wasn't happy with. But after, and again, I own it. I mean, and I said it many times after it happened. I said, hey, I could have handled that differently. But I was also still, my attitude when you're fighting, you're fighting all these people out there. And then, it's just to get in that mode where you're just like fighting, and it's like someone will say something like, what? Now I don't even have the issue anymore. I mean, I don't have the issue. People can say, well, it doesn't bother me. But that was the point. That was what I wanted to do. That's why I was watching responding to all the comment threads, because I knew that the way my life works is I'll go into a lesson hard and long and fast to own it. And I knew it was crazy that I was responding to everybody's comments. I knew it was crazy, but I knew it was pissing me off, and I knew I was reacting. I was like, okay, I've got to get in this. And so what I do is I get in it deeper until I just completely stretch the thing out and understand every little bit of it. By the time I got to where that whole thing blew up, I was already I was spent, there was just too much. And
for people that don't understand, is that there's sometimes somebody's trying to do this creative thing, and there's a lot of financial pressure on you, because I know for me, like, I spend tons of time and hours on this new show that I'm doing, and if I wasn't doing that, I'd be making a lot more money, because I could do other things that are certainly more profitable. So, when you think about that, and the fact that you're working so hard on something creative, and then somebody comes in and are complaining or whatever, you get kind of mad. You're like, I'm giving you a free service.
But that was the point. That was the point of the mistakes. Like, I look back, like, now I'm doing it right.
Yeah,
but
and
that was
some
one
of
of
the people,
mistakes,
like
you
I
know?
blocked one guy, and I'm not going to mention his name, but I blocked one guy who he gives me, I'm not kidding you, he would give me a 2-page critique in email of every single show I did, nitpicking little stuff like
Right.
you should have talked more about this, you should have shared this. 2 pages every show. He never gave me a dollar. He never gave me a dollar.
But see, the point is the thing
so
that I
did
learned
the same kind of thing. I emailed, but I did it privately. I emailed him. I'm like, listen, I understand. I'm giving you hundreds of hours of entertainment. Go sign up for my Patreon for $1. I'm not listening to any more of this unless you sign up for Patreon.
But see, Stephen, that was the whole point. Is I wasn't looking at the channel professionally in the sense of data driven, keyword driven. I'm building a YouTube channel. I got involved in a crowd. Nothing wrong. Listen, so many of them have come to this channel. I got really, connected with everybody. And then I found I was getting really involved. You know what I mean? And then I started getting a little bit bitter, which, you know what I mean? That's just not, if there's one regret I have made is I made that whole thing like, yeah, I should be donating to me. It's like, okay, that one. No,
but I understand because of the situation I just described to you. It's like, I'm getting all this flack from this guy. And I'm like, you obviously like the show. You've watched hundreds and hundreds of hours, listened to hundreds and hundreds of hours. Give me he was complaining. He was one of the people complaining about the mic quality. So I said, give me $1. Give me $1. I'll buy a better mic. And it grains on you. And then they're working so hard for so little money. I make a joke that,
and it's not anybody else's fault that you're working that hard. What's that?
No, because you're stupid enough to pursue this thing and hope that it builds.
But that's why I say, if it's data driven and you're looking at what you're doing professionally, I stumbled into my YouTube channel. So I didn't have it like I have it now. Like it's all really dialed. Like I understand what I'm doing now. I understand the whole interaction with comments and that thing, but I didn't get it. And it just, and plus, I was getting, really, got a lot of cocky and, it just got crazy, So I knew the way my attitude was, okay, it's going to get a point where Zzenn, you're going to have to, and this is the way I've done it in my life. You got to destroy what you've developed and learned. And then you got to rebuild it, and so you learn and you grow. That's it. But listen, I did a number of videos with the people that were mad at me, and they were mad for their reasons. And look, they have a right to. I couldn't continue to participate in it. I had to move on, but I did make my apologies. And again, there were so many people I was having to argue with on so many levels, which the group was supporting me on. But when I got into an argument with somebody in the group, then it blew up, and then it got crazy. And plus,
everybody's going to take sides, and
and I was slapping back. But again, I didn't know when you go to YouTube, I had no idea I was going to get involved in this very close knit group. And then I think it can kind of just steer you away from what the point of a YouTube channel is. You're professional, you offer content, you don't say stupid things like, donate to me and things like that, but I think
by the way, I just want to say, don't anybody donate to Zzenn.
Do not donate.
I have finally got my super chats on, so you people should donate to me.
Donate to Stephen.
Yes.
But at 700 videos, Stephen, I think I did overall.
Yeah, good. So you have like a 1%.
You make a couple mistakes, but see, I think that my attitude over a period of time was so in your face that I think that some people were getting kind of jabbed, here and there, and then I think that it kind of built.
Yeah, and you know what? I have the same kind of stuff going on with me, because you get this. You did the same kind of stuff. You and I were doing similar stuff, like attacking the fraudsters, and then the New Agers and all consider that you're some kind of nasty person because you don't believe this or that, or
But then there's some people. Again, there are a lot of people on the threads that come out of nowhere, And again, I think when you engage them, then you get sucked into it, and then that's just this never ending. And I learned the lesson. It just went poof. And I rebooted, and I was just like, it doesn't bother me now. I'm just like, okay, I get it. Whatever. You have your.
Yeah, but what I said is that I truly believe that everybody deserves a road to redemption. And if you made a mistake, people should forgive you and move on. If you're willing to apologize and say, hey, I learned my lesson. Here's what I did wrong. I was under a lot of stress or whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
you know,
but it's
so,
not, you know, but I don't require,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I just, people need to be true to yourself, do your thing, whatever, you know, I did my thing, you do your thing. And I honestly, I don't feel redemption in the sense that I want, that I need that or want that. I feel like it's important to explain it. And if you understand it, you understand it. All I can say is you got to have your own YouTube channel, and you'll find out when you've got like 100 people, everybody wants.
I'm in total defense of Zzenn because
it's like,
I'm in total defense of you because someday somebody's going to say the wrong thing to me, and I'm going to make what you did look like nothing. Okay, I am going to.
Let's hope not. And it's okay. Listen, like my worst critics, I got to a point. That's why I didn't really engage it, because I had engaged so much, you know. And when it really came down to it, I just let it go. It was like, it's all right, man. Yeah, I get it. You're pissed. It's fine. You know, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm about to light
2020.
my first cigar. Listen, folks, I'm not a smoker or a drinker guy. Every now and then I do, but just to let you know, this will be the first time, just for shits and giggles, because we're doing a Joe Rogan thing tonight. This will be the first cigar I have lit in my office.
Well, I don't have any cigars, but I have plenty of cigarettes and other smokables, so I will otherwise indulge.
Now, I don't even know. Like, this was a sweet friend of mine told me, he said, if you're going to smoke something.
Yeah, I like those kind of things.
Ooh, that's
like
sweet.
Once in a while, especially around a campfire, like, you know, like a cherry or you know.
But, you know, bottom line, Stephen, look at it, when it all came down to, look, I was learning my lessons. Everyone else, you know, you can only expect so much from one person. And also, again, if I hadn't been so kind of out of control in my brain, I would have handled things differently. And everybody has a right to their upset, that, you know what, they're upset. It's fine. And they got their videos out there. It's fine. It's fine. I get it. It happened. What do you do next?
Well,
you know,
like
there's
I
a lot to talk about. So we move forward, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I understand everybody's side, but I also think forgiveness is important, and you know, everybody makes mistakes. We're all human, you know. I've done,
and but the thing is, I'm really about it's okay not to forgive. It really is, and I appreciate what you're saying, but it is okay to not. I mean, you know, I've had people just, you know, you know, it is. Some people just don't dig your shit. It's all right.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's okay. I don't know. You know?
Yeah, I get a lot of nasty comments from a lot of true believers, and I kind of think, you know, if you want to go, I come with facts and evidence. So if you want to go live in your fantasy land, then go live in your fantasy land. It's all good. You know, this is not the channel for you. If I just want to shovel believer stuff down your throat every stream, then, you know.
I mean, if there's one thing, see, the thing, like, I don't want to ride this too long, but you know, it's not about poor Zzenn, because it really isn't. It's just the fact of the matter is I really took on a big monster. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I had no idea what I opened the door to, you know, and really.
Yeah. And then,
I mean,
you started this apocalypse podcast, and everybody was like, Zenn's lost his mind. Look at this crap. And I go, you know, I'm building an apocalypse cabin in the middle of the mountains in the woods, nowhere. So I like the idea of apocalypse podcast personally.
It was just, you know what, the thing is, once I closed it, like, I didn't know what was next, because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to reboot or what. I don't know. I just needed a freaking break. But then, of course, I like podcasting, and took, you know, a couple months, and like, what's fun? That's all I asked myself. What's fun? I want a podcast. And I go, well, shit's hitting the fan. And so I'm just going to do an apocalypse podcasting. But the thing of it is, there was a lot of people that didn't understand what I was talking about, and they thought that I was contradicting myself. And, you know, and that was the thing. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I've always been addressing the delusion. I never said there wasn't craft flying around. You know what I mean? And the Corey Good and Dave Wilcock and all that stuff is just plain BS, you know? And it's not changed since 2012, the message, you know? But I did Apocalypse Podcast out of fun, and it was fun. And then I spoke too much on the COVID thing, and YouTube, and I really didn't want to close another channel. And YouTube in 24 hours started hitting me with strikes, and I went, oh God.
Yeah.
And I'd already launched Unspirituality. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to redirect everything to Unspirituality. I've now figured out how to do it. I've got to, you know, understand the lessons and, you know, what I did and all that stuff. And now it's like I understand YouTube, a data-driven YouTube channel better, you know, and how to handle it, you know. So, you know, you hit the wall, and
Yeah. Well, I guess we can move on. I just want to make sure that we talk about that a little bit, because people don't understand why I'm even talking to you. And I go, he never did anything to me. Like, we're okay. And I understand what happens I understood it better than somebody that doesn't do a show, because I have had some times where I wanted to tell people a lot of stuff, but you hold back, or so there's lots going on. And I know that you're covering a lot of like Stephen Greer and his latest money grab, and I did too. He's my favorite, Dr. Stephen Greer. Disclosure ain't free, friends. Okay.
Yeah, it ain't free. That's the most. Listen, and I'm not against. I mean, Jesus. I mean, you should be making your money. No problem with that. It's just that it's just that when I hear this, like, oh, we've got to get everyone. Everyone needs to know. They need to understand. We need to get this out there, and then they charge $75 for. I mean, okay, my thinking is low. My thinking is low. I should have bigger thinking about it. Maybe my thinking is just off. I don't know, but it just. And the thing about Greer is that alien, that little alien that was proven to not be, it was proven to not be. And then the meditation and speaking to aliens through your, I mean, that just the discredit.
Well, before he was a UFO disclosure advocate, he was really a big supporter and really into transcendental meditation, and that's where all this came from. All this CE5 stuff is copied almost word for word out of transcendental meditation books. So he's not giving you anything for your $10 that you can't get for free at the library. Well,
it's amazing how connected he's gotten to some of the players in the game, though. That's pretty amazing that he's connected to some of the military brass that.
And another thing that everybody that is into UFOs and stuff, they tend to go, well, he did such groundbreaking work with this disclosure project. But really, if you pick apart what he presented during that, mock Senate thing, it's a lot of unproven stories. We have the ARV that may or may not have happened. Some people believe it did. Some people believe it didn't. He had Clifford Stone, who claimed to be in on UFO crash retrievals, and that guy was a nutter. He was an absolute nutter, but he used to control his nuttiness. Later, after talking about UFO crash retrievals, then he started telling news stories that he rescued an alien and freed an alien from the government's captivity. Then he got superpowers, and then he, started remembering all his past lives and talking about that. So, a lot of these Greer associates that did this disclosure project with him were not credible witnesses. They didn't have the goods. They didn't have the goods. They didn't have any proof. They had stories.
Well, the
stories is not proof.
The thing does it for me is when I'm looking at somebody, there's certain things that I really know well. You know what I mean? Okay, out of 10 things, I may not know all 10, but there's 3 things I know really well, right? And so though when they start talking about, like talking to aliens through meditation and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And the level, it just tells me so much about where their mind's at. Like with Alex Jones, I get it. Alex Jones has been proven right. He's got a lot of good things about how he's kicked ass, blah, 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 whatever, right? But I've been confronting his whole religious trip that feeds into his black and white thinking. And then he takes things, and he's right in so many ways. I get it. Like, who doesn't see it right now, right? But the hype connected to the Christian extreme belief system, that my point is to be able to cut through and really see. And the same with Greer and anybody else, is to be able to cut through and see, well, decipher those two, because disinfo works because it works. You know what I mean? It's designed in a way so it works. And until people really see that and cut through it, disinfo is not going to be obvious. Disinfo is going to be something that you think looks and appears real. Hey, we've got, it's B. Schofield. I got to say hi. It's been a while. B. Schofield, good to see you. Saw a recent vid on Love is One and Kaya Ra. Great stuff. Good to see you're still going. Yes, I rebooted this year. And I have checked out your site. It looks like things are going great on your website. And I'm looking forward to, if it's okay, maybe you can contact me. I was going to think of doing a video bouncing off of Kaya Ra. I haven't read the article, but like we did with Tech Bro Guru, if you're interested, and I'll plug your project. But anyway, that is B. Schofield, who was really responsible for getting Bentino Massaro booted out of Sedona. That was such a great weekend. he got booted Friday night, and then unfortunately the worst part is one of his followers jumped off a Schnebley Bridge right over here, and that was the unfortunate part about it. But
oh geez.
Did you hear about that, Stephen?
Yeah, I did hear a little bit about that. I know somebody who lives in Sedona, and he called me to tell me about it, and I was like, that's kind of bizarro, you know? Yeah.
I hope your guest, hold on a second real quick. I hope your guest is careful with sensitive topics. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Surfskate. I've been out with some of the followers here in Sedona, total goofballs suckered out of money, Unicorn Way. Article went viral on Reddit thread of 23 million yesterday. That's why my site crashed. Wow.
Wow. Congratulations.
B. Schofield is a badass. When I first met B, I was like, that.
Hey, I need some guests. Send them my way.
She's got some. Yeah. Be on his show.
Yeah, it's Truthseekers on YouTube. Just search Truthseekers. Yeah. You'll see my mug in the profile picture.
How can she contact you?
It's truthseekershow@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah, or I'll find her through this Guru magazine, I suppose.
Hey, Kim. Kim's new to the channel. Welcome. So yeah, okay. So we put that to rest, and I'm glad we talked about it. Thank you. I just not a lot much we can say about it, and we'll move forward. And so what else? Okay, so there's things going on. You know, did you see the show I did today on
No, I did not.
Amy Carlson?
No.
You familiar with
I'm familiar with, they found her body.
The cult?
Right?
Yeah, the Love is One cult. Leader found mummified.
And they found her mummified body in the compound, right?
Yeah, with Christmas lights wrapped around her.
Well, that's classy.
Right now at 6:30.
Yeah, and so there's some of the group members, and they had a 13-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy in the house with a dead body rotting. And I think that body had been, I don't know how long, but for quite a while.
Wow, that's very long.
And, you know, it's sad. It's just that, like, my thing today, when I was talking about it today, I was just like, you know, this stuff is so elementary, man. I mean, like, wow, people still don't get that one. And they're still but she only had a small group. They say she had a worldwide audience. You know, I just don't know. I mean, there are easier ways to get people caught into stuff like disclosure, you know, disinformation and stuff. But this one was such a textbook cult. But anyway, I'm very interested in seeing what the actual, how she died, what the coroner's report is, because there is a little something that I heard today that's possible. I'm not saying this is just possible that she was murdered. Not saying she was. I'm not saying she was.
Well, sure. Anytime somebody dies, that's one of the possibilities.
I'm just saying that there, you know, there's a lot of drugs involved and such. But anyway, they made this the shrine, so to speak, of her corpse in the house. And then when the cops went in, they're like, I've never been on a crime scene where everybody in the house was happy, like they were just the happiest people in the world with a dead, rotting corpse in the.
Oh my gosh, that's bizarre. Yeah, it's a crazy story.
It's a crazy story. The other thing I wanted to show you, I had a couple thoughts and I wanted to run. We were talking about, you said, because you're building your cabin, you said that you had possibly felt that maybe there's some Bigfoot around your cabin.
No, I don't know that I truly believe that. But I hear some big things out in the woods. Yeah.
Excuse me for maybe not saying that right, but there have been these crazy ass sightings.
Yeah,
and I mean, first of all, we have UFOs flying everywhere. Okay, so if anybody goes, stop being silly person. Okay, there are UFOs flying. Hold on a second, I don't even know what I'm doing here. UFOs flying all over the place. Okay, fact. You know, from the top down. You know, Pentagon down, mainstream news. Just the other day, green triangles flying over the top of our battleships, everything. Now, people who dismiss Mothman and Bigfoot, which I did for quite a while, well, I started doing some more recent research and discovered that there's some stuff going on here, man. And this was a particularly just crazy story. This was on a number of different news platforms. But this woman had worked at the airport, and she went to her car to head home. And as she's going into her car, she looks in front of her car about 50 feet, and there's this large figure, and she thought it was just this tall man with a trench coat on. She gets in her car, she turns on the light on her headlights, and all of a sudden she sees this freaking reptilian, 7-foot tall reptilian creature stretch its freaking bat wings out. It goes running towards her car. As soon as it gets close to her hood, its wings, and it flies up in the air. So now we could say, silly time, this is ridiculous, right? Well, the problem with this is that it's being reported consistently, as is Bigfoot, all over the place. So let's just say it's all BS. Let's just go with that. They're just stupid stories, right? Because I've looked into these stories, and these people that are reporting these are people that do not want to be, they do not want to go public. A lot of them report them years later. They don't want to go public. So let's just open our minds for a moment. We've got chimeras. Okay, we hear about these experiments where science is mixing animal and human DNA. Well, why is it even remotely out of the scope that this has been going on for a long time? That these creatures have been test subjects for the past 60 years? That's just not out of the scope. I mean, we're not talking Corey Good's blue avians, dear God. That's just stupid. I mean,
no, because none of these people that are reporting these sightings, most of them are not trying to make a career out of it or profit from it.
Not at all.
They tend to be pretty credible people sometimes who are reluctant to even come forward because the story is, listen to this story. She sees a 7-foot tall reptilian alien. It's a reptilian thing, and it stretches its wings out, flies away. Yeah, that's bizarre. And I am wondering or worrying if there's some great tragedy that's about to come to Chicago, because historically, when people start seeing Mothman, it is before a great tragedy. People saw there was Mothman reports by locals before the Fukushima. There was and in Russia as well, in that reactor meltdown situation, people were seeing Mothman-like creatures before those two events, and many, many more. We have the bridge incident, the most famous one that's in the Mothman movie. So it makes me wonder.
I mean, those could be. We could go confirmation bias on that if we want.
Yeah, it could be coincidence. Sure.
We could go that, but the one thing that definitely is in our face is these sightings. I mean, and there's always a common thing is the red eyes in the darkness, even with the Bigfoot. And there's just some, again, it's written off very easily, but when we really look at the evidence, it just can't be written off. Oh, here's some news. I watched the court hearing today and saw the 7 members appeared in orange jumpsuits. A couple of them were they bailed out, from what I understand. 1 or 2 of them, from what I learned earlier.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
So yeah, it's a fascinating thing.
And the cult itself, because I have this weird fascination with cults. Like, what? I guess it's just an interest in the psychology of it. Like, especially things like David Koresh, telling people like, well, you can't bang your wife anymore, but I can, and they agree to this, and it just bizarro land. Or Jim Jones.
Well, if you ever want to talk in depth, if you ever want to talk in depth on it, we can have a conversation about that, because I escaped a cult. I escaped 2 of them. I know it very well. I know why it happens, and it's all the believing brain, and it's all the group consciousness of having the mother, father, the connection. Once you have the feeling connection there, the rest of it goes. It doesn't matter. The thoughts are second. I mean, like critical thinking second. It's just the feeling of it's like when a mom has a kid who's murdering people, and she goes, my kid's not murdering anybody. Shut up. I love my son. That sort of thing. And it's emotional based, that the emotions just override basic logic. But the biggest thing for me right now that of course, we know what's going on with the commie takeover with America, and the globalist is now making their move, which is I'm for globalism. I'm not for tyranny. I'm for transhumanism. There's a lot of things that I am for. That's why I'm an independent. But the biggest thing is the UFOs, and Occam's razor and my research tells me it's man-made craft. woman-made craft, whatever you want, sexist, whatever.
Well, after about 20 years of digesting everything that I could on UFOs, I've basically come to the conclusion that it's almost certainly all black projects. And there's a lot of there's proven government disinformation where they went, you know, and like the Benowitz case is famous for this. Richard Doty goes to Benowitz and says, "Oh no, that stuff you're seeing, those are aliens." And they knew that they were top secret drone projects. And this is early 80s or mid 80s, before anybody even knew that we had drones. They were flying drones already and testing drones around that military base. And that's what he was seeing, you know?
And there's a lot of evidence that there's been staging an alien invasion, which makes sense. Their technology is far beyond what we even remotely understand. So it's hard to say whether it's real aliens or it's them. And then you've got cyborg creatures. You know, why couldn't they create cyborg creatures? And whatever it is, we can only speculate. Well, if they're going to do an alien invasion, and if it's man-made, right, they're going to have to do some type of creature.
Yeah, I don't buy the whole fake alien invasion thing. I think that's a crock. I think that's a crock. The only source for that was Carol Rosin, who's best friends with Stephen Greer. And Stephen Greer has been telling that story for 20 years, and now
actually William Cooper was one of the first that
I wasn't aware of that.
News on that. Yeah. I have a video with William Cooper, who was the guy in the 1990s.
Oh no, yeah, he was
legit. Well, yeah, he hated Alex Jones. That he was legit. He really got shot and killed. That we should tell you something about.
Well, some people might say that was murder, that was suicide by cop.
This is true. You know? This is true. But he was the real deal from what I learned. Well, on his last interview, he said that it was all BS. He was used by the globalists. He said that there is no aliens here. All of the UFOs are man-made. He says it's all about a staged alien invasion. And that was his last admission. And I just think that
we got to find that.
Yeah, I'll play that.
I always say that the only source is Carol Rosin saying that, you know, she heard that from von Braun. It just seems to me convenient.
Well,
Nobody else heard von Braun say that, and he was a Nazi. He killed lots of people, and we just whitewashed his you know, Nazism and had him work on our space program. So I don't take him as a real trusted source of anything.
But it makes sense, though, if you think about it, though. If you have the technology to do it, it makes sense, because all empires have always been moving towards world domination. And in their world, it was like territorial, you know, this country or that, whatever. And so it's a natural outflow of evolution. So it all makes sense to me. My thing is, based on the evidence that I'm looking at, I could easily say, oh, it's aliens, right? But there is data that points to, and it also, again, just makes sense on a technological level. Why would you not stage an alien invasion? Why would you not do that? But what we do know is these craft are flying around and breaking the laws of physics and doing things that nobody can do.
Well, let me stop you there, though. Let me stop you there for a second. Because,
all right.
Listen, when people, a very common riff, not among you, but among the true believers, is they're very fond of saying things like, this craft violated the laws of physics. It did 90-degree turns. And I found evidence of a project in the early 90s that was designed to take down nuclear missiles in flight that had all kinds of different jets on each side and could do perfect 90-degree turns. So sometimes when people say, violating the laws of physics, it's just that there may be technology that you're misinformed or uninformed about that these man-made craft are utilizing.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just,
but it's
not
stuff
common.
that we don't normally know. You know, I mean, I've been reporting on them, and out of pure fascination, and I see stuff that's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So it opens up a massive door. I just, like, for me, Occam's razor says it's man-made. There are, you know, William Cooper, I feel, was very reputable. And I think that that's more likely that they're staging that with everything they're doing right now. Because look, we're heading to, it's global government, right? And somebody's going to run the show. It's just the way human primates operate. So we're stuck with, it's, you know, man-made, or it's flipping aliens, or, you know, and if it is man-made, it's not it's not off the table. So we have sex dolls now that can talk to you and do all sorts of stuff.
That's creepy.
It's not off the table that they've done the transhumanist thing underground, had this already mastered 20 years ago. I mean, I know I'm speculating. I'm just saying that it's
exactly. I mean,
table.
they had the Blackbird, and we didn't know about it until 20 years later. You know, they had the stealth technology, and we didn't know about it until 10 or 15 years later. So they're at least 10, 15, 20 years ahead of the general public's knowledge of technology. And
Right.
and I believe that a great deal of this this new UAP and all this push and the media attention is going to be a threat narrative so that they get more funding for black projects and military equipment.
Well, they're calling it a threat, and I think that was the biggest red flag, is when the Pentagon said this is a national security threat.
Well, it could very well be Russian or Chinese drones. I have a source that swears to me that these things are Chinese drones. Swears to me. And he worked in the aviation industry. I vetted him, his background. He swears to me that the Chinese government is sending drones to monitor our military assets, equipment, whatever.
But I don't believe
and that's a good explanation for what this stuff is.
I don't believe that our military doesn't know that. I mean, I just I mean, if anybody had advanced technology, it was us with it was United States with Area 51 and such. I mean, it could be our own.
Yeah, but you got to remember that the Chinese are very industrious people, and they're the ones making every bit of technology that the consumers are buying throughout the world today. So maybe they're more advanced with their technology.
Things aren't always as they seem, and I would not be surprised with. I think everything happened when the pandemic happened. All of a sudden, the UFOs just went off the rocker. I mean, they were just. It all happened together when the uptick of the UFOs. And so when you look at the whole globalist movement, right? If I was running these things and it was for me from the US government, of course I'd say it's a national security threat. If it came from our underground bases, of course I'd say that, because I'm setting it up. I'm getting, and then you got everything else set up, you know, and then you've got all the weather weaponry that's happening, all that stuff that's going on, which is real. You can look into it. It's admitted by all the major governments. And so the apocalypse is happening. It's being created. Revelations, in my opinion, was a script written by the globalists. And so when you look at the predictive programming, when I look at the predictive programming in the media, oh my God. I mean, everything we're seeing in post-apocalyptic, pre-apocalyptic, apocalyptic, the viruses, the zombies, all this stuff. I mean, the UFO invasions, the end of the world stuff. This isn't just like fancy. This is social.
You're going to make me hurry up and finish that apocalypse cabin then.
You better.
I tend to run very hot and cold with my anxiety levels. Like, I'll get very anxiety ridden and start, making sure I have food preps and I have all the equipment that I could ever need there, and tools there, and weapons, and and then I kind of calm down and I go, it's not that bad, and maybe I saw a little bit more faith in humanity that it's not.
Write this down. It's bad, and it's about to get extremely worse. And you heard it here. And if I'm wrong, then I'll be wrong. But from what I understand, just big picture, I mean, any empire that takes over a free society through history, and I'm not a historian, but from what I know, just a cursory level of understanding this, is that really bad things happen during this process. And I have a list of elitists, just 35 of them, that are all talking about depopulation. Now, I'm for depopulation. When I think about this, Stephen, I think about me being at the top of the food chain. What I you see what I'm saying?
You would really. Well, I mean, listen. This system,
that's how I think about it.
As it exists, is not sustainable. And what a lot of people don't know is that the world really does run on petrochemicals and oil, and that whole model is coming to an end. And it's not just the fuel we use and the stuff we use to heat our homes. It's agriculture. It's everything, and that system could be destroyed real quickly.
Well, I mean, when I think about depopulation, it's like we got 8 billion people on the planet, right? And there's a website called the Animal Kill Clock. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I have, actually.
Yeah. So every second we're at, like, just this year, we're at some ridiculous trillions of pigs and cows. And think about it. Everywhere the human animal, we're just talking biology. We're not bad. We're just like frogs or whatever. But the nature of the human animal everywhere the human animal goes, animals go extinct. We're like a locust. Okay.
So yeah, we take all the resources. We don't care about renewables and things like that.
Yeah. So there comes a point where how many animals and chickens are going to be wholesale slaughtered every second by the millions and gazillions if we go to 10 billion people. So I'm about responsibility. How about this one? Take responsibility. You need a license to have a child.
Yeah, I always thought it was funny. You need a license to catch a fish. You need a license to have a dog. But don't let any idiot be a dad or mom, you know?
No, I mean, come on. It's the future of our species. Why the hell are we just like, so we need to take responsibility. You talk, like I always see religion in New Age as like the shadows or the forecasting of reality, right? So creating a reality, okay? Well, forget Saint Germain and the rest of the bozos. How about you create your reality this way? How about you take responsibility for how many kids you have? Let's start with that one. How about you create your reality by stopping sex trafficking? How about you create your reality by getting involved? How about you get off of your freaking little throne in your house with your crystals and shit and being on a YouTube channel and channeling bullshit to everybody? Why don't you really create your reality? You see what I'm saying? And it's just from day one, it's just been this denial of the physical world.
Well, I can't deny that. I think the world has way too many people too, but I'm not in a moral, I'm not in a position to go, let's start culling, let's start figuring out what stupid people we can shut off planet maybe or something. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea.
We're going to have to become at least a 2-planet species to survive.
I like that idea better. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we could find some habitable planet and just send all the dumb people there. That would be great.
Let's start with an island.
Yeah.
Island dummies. Well, like I said, just starting with taking responsibility for the future of our species and getting people's heads out of invisible land would be a nice start, but people talk about aliens coming here. I don't know. When it comes to aliens, I just think that aliens would be more likely to microchip everybody and put the primates in check, to make us pets, give us virtual reality and fun little things to do, and they take us out on walks and they give us little parks to play in and stuff like that. That's what I see more likely.
There's a song.
We'll make great pets. Yeah, you got your smart cities. Yeah, you got your smart cities. You get microchipped, and you're happy. They have new technology where you can have multiple orgasms. All that stuff. Human primate can be happy. But if I was an alien race, the last thing I would do is come here and try to negotiate jack with anybody. I mean,
well, that's another stupid thing. And it's like if they have the technology to travel between galaxies, then they don't need our resources. They can find water, they can make it. There's this argument that they're coming here because they need gold, or the Zechariah 6.
Or we're special.
Come on.
I like that one. We're special.
Yeah, there's uninhabited asteroids out there that are 80% gold, golden rock. They could go and suck the whole thing into a spaceship and have all the gold they wanted. They don't need to come here for resources. Right. I've often thought, though, that if aliens truly are coming here, it may be like an anthropologist, They're here to study primitive species.
As if, but the other thing is as if they needed to. You know what I mean? Like we could go all over the place, like as if they didn't already know that, because they're like, that's the thing that always cracks me up about when I hear Corey Goode and Wilcock talk about, they're like billions of years advanced from us. And I had this little spat with Corey Goode on Twitter one time, and I go, well, would you please just, I don't know, give us a little tiny trickle of a breakthrough on some science, or maybe how to stop sex trafficking, or
he's talking to all these super advanced aliens.
It's not like
he can't figure out how to make a comic book in 4 years. Maybe they could give him a comic book creation machine.
Yeah, it's not like they're 200 years in advance. They're billions, and they're on a higher density. And it's like, people, it's like, well, why are you so confident, Zzenn, that these guys are full of shit? I'm like, come on. I mean, seriously. They're not 100 years ahead of us. And if you see what we have done in a decade, imagine what they've done in 6 billion years, and they're on some other dimension and frickin', wherever. anyway, I don't know if we have any questions or comments anywhere, but
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm also trying to monitor my live chat here as well. Got a big crowd over there. That's good. I'm glad to see it. So this is the first, I try to do this simulcast thing because, we could have easily had me come on your show and then you come on my show, but I thought it would be better if we just kill it with one. Yeah, just do it with one conversation. Yeah.
That's why I kind of felt like it was almost like I should have said the Unspirituality podcast and the Midnight Hour.
Oh, it's Truthseekers now. That's my new show.
Actually. Oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry. It's Truthseekers now. All right.
Truthseekers on YouTube now. Yeah, but I still have all those Midnight Hour episodes, and there's some great ones like interviews with Stanton Friedman and many of the bigger names in UFOs. Yeah.
Stanton Friedman?
Friedman, yeah, I interviewed him. I have
really?
Yeah, I have an unreleased interview that I did with him too. That and nobody's ever heard it, so I'm probably going to release that.
And how recent was this interview?
A few years ago. Like a year. It was like a year and a half before he died, I think. Maybe 2 years.
Oh, I didn't know he died. Okay, so he's a legend. So wow, feather in your hat on that one, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the most famous person I ever interviewed was Michael Horn. That was fun as fuck. That was so fun.
I'd say, I guess the most famous person I ever interviewed was McAfee.
John really? McAfee. I was looking at John McAfee and I was like, did he really interview John McAfee? How did you get that interview?
It was weird. Like he had back and forth with emails and, I had to do it at a certain time and date and agree to not ask X, Y, and Z, which was really questions that were more like personal and about his marital situation or something.
Right.
And I didn't even understand the question.
But how'd you get a hold of him? I mean,
I followed him on Twitter, and then he said, like, I'm available for podcast interviews, and contact me. And then I contacted this email address he gave me that turned out to be his wife, who's a very nice lady, and and that was it. And
man, that's pretty amazing. I mean, he's a
and it made me
he's a superstar.
It made me go. Yeah. You got to reach out to people, even if they're famous, because some of them just, will give you the time, Right. And actually, I think he was supposed to do 2 hours, but he cut it at the 1 hour mark. And what can you say? I just went, well, thank you for your time, then, and forget the rest of these questions.
Wow, no, that's a feather in your hat for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to spend some time every week contacting people. Even just interesting people, that might be interested in weird topics.
What's up next on your show? Do you have some topics that you're?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to be. I have a few different guys that are UFO researchers, and we're going to be talking about this upcoming UFO report, what might be in it, what the implications might be, because everybody's really just in speculation land. But my take so far is that there's not going to be anything groundbreaking in that. They're going to go, there's these things. We don't know what they are. We've investigated. We don't know if they're foreign adversaries or what they are. And we're going to continue to investigate. That's what I think they're going to do. Maybe they'll drop some other videos or pictures, but they'll probably be just as useful as the last batch of stuff, And I'm not a big fan of this. This words are important to me, and we get this total misunderstanding from the true believers, like with this Jeremy Corbell pyramid video, that the Navy confirmed it was a genuine video. No, the Navy just confirmed that a Navy person took it. They didn't say what it was.
No, the Pentagon gave it a stamp of approval.
Well, they said that a Navy personnel took the video, that it was taken by a Navy personnel, but they didn't say it was aliens. And what I'm saying is,
no. They said it was a legitimate. It was on. I think it was on Fox News. They said it was a legitimate UFO, which was a craft. They did not know where it came from, who it came from, what it was.
I find that hard to believe, considering it had FAA lights on it.
Where? Like, what do you mean? Like,
I mean, maybe we're talking about two different videos.
Where I'm talking about the green triangles.
Yeah. And this, if you look at Mick West, he debunked the whole thing, and it could have been taken, with the triangle aperture of the night vision, and it could have been an airplane. And then somebody even took video of an airplane, same flashing lights. And by the way, the flashing lights in Corbell's green pyramid video line up perfectly. The timing does to FAA lights on an airplane or helicopter. So I just think there's
I don't
too much
know how that's
excitement.
possible. I mean, when you look at it, it's not, I mean, it's with all the other craft that are showing up.
Well,
I mean, it's
I'll send you
kind of
some
a
stuff,
leap
but
to say.
if you take a night vision monocular and you open it to a certain focal length where the aperture happens to be a triangle, and then you film an airplane, it looks like exactly what's in Corbell's photo or image. It looks exactly like what's in Corbell's video. And I don't trust Corbell. He did this for people that don't know. Corbell and Dolan hoaxed this CIA deathbed confession video where the guy was supposed to be former CIA and that he worked on flying saucers or knew about flying saucers and went into Area 51 at the request of the president, and they had aliens there and alien spacecraft. And it turns out that the guy was never in the CIA, he was never in the military, and he worked his entire life in a grocery store. And that story was brought to us by Corbell. Corbell was going to make an entire documentary about that guy. But then when the pressure and the people debunking that guy and looking into his real and actual history started coming to light, I think he shelved that project because he was busted. And Dolan was in on that too. He got Dolan to do the actual interview.
What do you think of Dolan?
I think that he's, I used to like and respect him, but I think that he strayed way too far into the woo. And he, I understand though, he's made his career out of this. So he's got to keep, I feel bad for him. He's got to keep coming up with UFO stories. No matter.
Well, I don't listen. I mean, right now, I don't think I'm going to even have enough time to run through all the footage that I report on all the time. That's all over the place. And
yeah, I have to catch up. Yeah,
on news stories and everything. But the thing of it is, like when you look at the Nimitz UFOs, you look at those. I mean, Pentagon right off the bat said we don't know what the hell these things are. They're a national security threat. And then you have the the triangular UFOs, and then all these UFOs appearing everywhere. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's nuts. Like these orbs, either black triangles or orbs, and doing these crazy.
Oh, sure.
things.
I'll give you that. There's tons of sightings right now, and there is. It seems to be a big uptick in activity, reports, and videos being taken. Yep. So it makes me wonder if this is all coming to some sort of crescendo, and what is that crescendo going to be?
Right. Well, that's why I talk about predictive programming. The CIA talked about the media in the 1960s. I don't have the exact source right now, but about that the media is basically predictive programming. It's programming. It's social engineering. When you look at all the apocalypse movies, and you look at the theme, you've got pandemic, you've got crazy ass weather, you've got UFO invasions, you've got zombies. I figured out, I think I told you the other night how zombies can happen. Did I tell you that?
Well, there is that drug that from Africa.
We were talking about that.
Yeah.
Flocka and crocodile. All you have to do is put those two drugs into the water supply, and you will have an immediate, instant freaking zombie apocalypse.
That's scary.
But that's what I'm saying. By looking at the predictive programming, I'm seeing, just understanding the way the whole thing works and where they're going for power, which makes sense. I'm not saying it shouldn't go there. That's the way evolution is leading.
I'm not sure that I believe in a lot of this predictive programming stuff, because after all, people like Wilcock talk about it. And I think if you analyze anything, like people analyze the Super Bowl every year and say that's predictive programming, or it's kind of like connecting the dots after the fact to me. But I haven't done adequate research, and I certainly leave open the possibility that our government uses propaganda to get us ready for things, or to, to manipulate us, to control us.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot to it. Again, that's its own topic to look deeper into. But anyway, big uptick in UFO sightings, and it's just mind blowing to me, because we're really, in my opinion, we're in a soft invasion on some level. Whether it is another country doing it, or an alien race doing it, or a staged alien invasion, there's just too much. I was doing this. I'm 57. I started this in my 20s. I've never seen what I'm seeing now. It's off the charts. And when I start seeing it being talked about from the top down, and like I said, completely faked and made by them. But the point is that we're seeing it in media, we're seeing it presented. And the thing about media, media is a social engineering device. If I again, I always put myself in the position of a globalist. Okay, it would be very easy to social engineer the entire planet through media. Very easy. And why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I put memes out and make sure that there are certain themes brought out to prepare the public or desensitize the public or whatever? Why wouldn't I do that? So that's the way I look at it. It's like people go, well, I don't think that that's, it's like, well, why wouldn't you do it?
I'd like
If
to
you
think
ran
there's
the world,
I'd really like to
come
think
on.
there's some big office somewhere with a bunch of feds or like government employees making memes all day. I'd really
And having a kick out of it.
Yeah, having a kick out of it. Like, how we're going to manipulate the people. Well, memes are a pretty powerful way to do it.
Yeah.
A good meme can get shared a million times, and people
But
will
it's all
agree or
about
disagree with it.
But it's all about power. See, that's the thing. It's all about power and control. And the fact that rulership of the world has just been the main aim of empires. That's just the history of empires. And back then, it was rulership of this continent, rulership of that. So when that is an established fact, which we can see, then you look at all the other connections to it, weather weaponry. There's remote mind control. Have you seen the reports on that? Where remote
Well, not only that, but
weapons?
there's in the media there is actual real media sources reporting these energy weapons
Yeah,
that are being
that's
used
it.
against U.S. government facilities and employees, and that's not science fiction anymore.
No,
The real media, Fox, CNN, are reporting. New York Times, they're reporting on it. One of the things that's been bothering me though about this whole UFO flap and all this newfound media attention into UFOs is that the media is often getting it wrong. Like this New York Times article, like they had to keep correcting everything in the article because they misquote people or,
right.
and I don't know, just seems like some of this seems like a psyop to me. Like, and it makes me wonder if it is a psyop, like what are they getting us ready for?
Well, see, that's why my whole thing, I did that video on Greer and I talk about, saying that Greer is a player, not I'm not even really saying consciously, and that Alex Jones is a chess piece. Like all these are chess pieces. This is why the staged alien invasion for me makes more sense. That there's just going to be, I don't know exactly how, but it makes sense. If I wanted to bring the world into one power, one global government, right? I would have to create some type of a very vast threat, but that threat's got to come in a way where it's kind of like right now we've got World War III brewing like crazy. I mean, it's like nuts, man. Okay. China, Iran, North Korea. I mean, it is
Russia,
just
Ukraine,
in Russia. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think I told you, I don't know if I told you this when we talked last weekend about Tulsi Gabbard came on to Tucker Carlson's show. And this was just after Putin had sent like, I forget how many hundreds or thousands of robot freaking tanks to the border of Ukraine. And Tulsi got on there and she started talking about, you don't understand. We've got 1,000 nukes pointed towards them. They've got 1,000 nukes pointed towards us. And she goes, do you have any idea what happens when she goes, and the war is going to be here. And she goes, you know what happens when a nuke hits a city? She goes, your skin peels off of your face. And she just went into detail. And I'm just like going, because it's Tulsi Gabbard. It wasn't like it was urgent.
Well, you have to imagine too that, it's very ordinary that there's tensions between powers on the globe of Earth, but this pandemic may have intensified that because a lot of people aren't working, a lot of people are unhappy, there's resource problems, there's supply problems all over the world, and when people get pushed to a certain level, violence is can be easy to pop off. I hope that nothing like that ever happens because, mutual assured destruction, nobody's going to win in a nuclear war. Nobody.
Yeah, but there's big benefits on how, I mean, this has just been I don't know, I said the globalist plan, and it's involved a lot of different factors. And pandemic is a huge part of this whole thing. So forget what the hell I was going to say. I'm going to say something. know what it was, but business is not as usual, definitely. And I have to stay out of the COVID thing because of the rules of YouTube.
Oh, sure. We don't talk
But
about it on my show either.
we don't talk about it.
Talk about
But
anything.
I can tell you, here's the thing, from my perspective, my research, my understanding is we're in the full blown takeover. This is the full blown power grab, and the technology has gotten to a point that the nation, that in other words, you have to move now. China in their philosophy is they believe they have the divine right to rule the planet. Whoever owns the technology owns the planet. We're in the fight for global dominance right now, and it isn't business as usual. In my opinion, store your food, get ready, because this thing is going to ramp up. It's going to ramp up. And we're going to chill out and see something happen in a few years or whatever. And I could be wrong. Okay. But the way, just my research, me looking at this thing, it's now do or die, because now Trump recently said he's going to he's going to run for president in 2024. Well, let me tell you something. Those in power right now, there's no way they're going to lose power. Absolutely not. And they will do anything in their power to make sure that doesn't happen. So it's a big picture. And we're looking at the verge of World War III. And then they've got the whole global warming card, and then you got the pandemic card, lots of cards playing. And so then you got these UFOs flying around. As science fiction as this sounds, I think that is possible that we could get to the brink of literally, there's two scenarios. One is we get to the brink of literally just destroying the planet, and then the aliens or the cyborgs or whatever show up and take over, and now we've got our new world government,
our new overlords.
You know what I mean? Or
let's hope not. But back to the subject of this fake alien invasion.
Okay.
Listen, one of the things that makes me think that this is just not plausible is because the resources that it would require to convince everyone that aliens were flying over all the major cities in the world, let's say, or what, it seems very implausible to me, because and the fact that Greer is pushing it, proven hoaxer or proven UFO
but
prophet.
Remember, truth mixed with fiction.
Yeah, I suppose, but I don't think that this fake alien invasion thing is plausible. And then, but hey, I could be wrong. And then if there is an alien invasion, I'm going to be going, wait, is this a real one or the fake one? And what do I do here? I'm going to head to the cabin. I'll head to that cabin. No, hey,
you said on your Twitter, you said in your Twitter post, bring your popcorn. I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm just like, look, all I can say is it's very exciting, because I have been watching this. I knew the globalist plans from my 20s and such, and I've been watching this unfold, and it's been happening as and I understand it. And now with the alien thing, I mean, with the UFO showing up, it's just really bringing some really, wow, whoa, it's really here. What's going to happen? And digging deeper into it. I'm looking for, here we go. Here we go. I don't know if you want to see this William Cooper thing?
Yeah, quick? Sure. Yeah, we can talk about it.
Let me show you this really quick. I'll be right back.
Sure.
What do you think about aliens?
I don't think there are any. At one time, I thought that there were, simply based upon documents that I'd seen while I was attached to the intelligence briefing team, Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet. At that time, and even for many years afterwards, I did not believe that the government would use me in that way. I had devoted my whole life to government service. I had been in the Air Force. I was in the Navy. I was a river patrol boat captain in Vietnam. I had proved myself. I had combat ribbons with the V for Valor. There was no doubt of my loyalty to my country. And maybe that's why it was so easy to use me, because I wouldn't doubt that what I saw was real. But over the years, I've done a lot of research. What I've discovered is there's no proof existing anywhere that extraterrestrials are real, or that have ever visited this planet, or that they exist anywhere in the universe. There is not one shred of evidence anywhere. There is lots of evidence, tons of it in fact, that there are a group of people collectively known as the Illuminati who want us to believe in some extraterrestrial threat from space so that they can cause a world government, bringing together of all the people to resist that external threat. And the first time that I saw any reference to that, I was reading some papers from the Carnegie Endowment Fund, and there was a record of a speech. It was a dinner for Viscount Ishii of the Japanese delegation, the Japanese imperial delegation, in 1917. And John Dewey was one of the speakers. And the first sentence out of his mouth, as I was reading this, almost fell out of my chair, because this was in 1917. And he said, the best way to cause all the people of the world to come together in one world government and end war forever would be if we were attacked by some other species from some other planet. And boy, that just clicked with me. And I knew that that this is just another scam. This is the age of deception. There's no doubt about it.
And his back and what he, with him saying this was because he had been, he had been a major player in this. So it was just like, wow, like they really used me. Like he was, all the abductions and, people getting taken out of their bodies through the roof. Like in other words, like he knew they had put so much energy into creating this whole abduction scenario. You know what I mean? Then the bubble popped and he was just like, oh, wait a minute. So anyway, this is the whole interview that you could always go see, you could always watch. It's called Bill Cooper, the 1999 Lost Interview. But yeah, Bill was the real deal in my opinion. And, he was like, apparently in his later years, he was, had some alcohol problems and whatever, but I think he was the real deal, man. And,
I kind of understand that, like, if somebody comes on your land with guns and you're not really sure what the situation is, like, bad things can happen,
Yeah, I mean,
I told the story. I once had my cabin is literally in the middle of nowhere, and one day there was a big knock at the door, and it was like a really hard knock, and the first thing I thought was, who is knocking on my cabin?
Cussing is allowed.
Yeah, well, not on my channel. We try not to.
Oh, okay, no cussing.
So I was like, who is knocking on my door at 10 o'clock at night like a cop? And then I opened the door, and there was a bunch of cops. Well, I didn't know if I saw badges in like full SWAT gear with long guns, and they pushed their way right in the front door. And
in your cabin?
Yeah. They're like, we're here to serve a warrant, and they're saying some guy's name, and I'm like, whoa. Let me get my wallet. I'm not the guy. You got the wrong place, brothers. I'm not the guy.
But aren't you in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
You're a serial killer or something?
Yeah. And then I look, and I could see there's a dirt road that my cabin is on. I could see there was like 6 cop cars. And there was at least 6 guys with long guns and everything. And like that could have went really badly if I was like not sure who they were, or, if I didn't just open the door, So it just turned out that they were there to serve a warrant for somebody that was being arrested for not paying child support for 2 years. A neighbor that was 2 miles further into the mountain than me. I found out later.
Cow.
But yeah, these things can go wrong. Like when cops show up with guns on your land, Yeah. It was bizarre.
Well, America's being gutted.
Well, the middle class definitely is being gutted.
And I understand it. I understand it,
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things why I get on the Christian thing. It's like people are like, oh, well, stop the Christian thing. I'm like, look, I'm not jumping love. I'm not jumping on love and caring and kindness. I'm jumping your silly stuff that is just not good. I mean, I'm sorry, it's outdated. We're going into a global species. You got to raise your consciousness, not into Saint Germain's
raising your vibration.
Yeah,
but you know what's always funny to me is that all these new age people talk about raising your vibration, but what they don't understand is that your mind works. If you want to get into real bliss and meditation, it's better at a lower frequency. They miss that. Like brainwaves don't work that way, dummy. Like, yeah.
Well, the Intel community, and it's just some little experience I've had. It's a real consciousness raising is being aware of what the hell's going on, like really understanding like psyop and really understanding intelligentsia and really understanding how the mind works. It's like that's a whole nother level. And then the big picture on the human animal, people don't understand. It's like when you have 5 people on a boat, right? And 2 of them are kids, and the boat, there's sharks circling around the boat. One adult has got to jump off the boat to save the kids and everybody else and get eaten by sharks in front of everybody. Well, this is not a scenario that anybody likes, right? But I'm sorry, it has to happen. Well, I know that's not going to happen. This is the devil. It's the lower energies of life and everything. Shh, get a hold of yourself, man.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. And we're in a situation where I think that a lot is being exploited. There's a lot of powers that are grabbing hold of what's going on. But that does not dismiss that we're at a point in our evolution where things need to change. And I think America, look, I'm for freedom. But I think America has run its course, and we need to understand ourselves because we are a global species. You know what I mean? It's not an idea.
We live in a global economy already.
Yeah.
It's already a global situation. So for people to deny that, but I do think, like, I'm a big supporter of America first, and like, if you have problems here, you shouldn't be giving money away to other countries and things like that, or meddling in other countries. Just worry about your own problems. It's like having a family. I wouldn't give money to a family in need while my family was in need. I would take care of my own family first, and then if there's excess or abundance, share the wealth and help others too. But you got to take care of your own house first. And we're meddling. Americans are meddling. Well, what are we good at? We're good at bombing brown people. That's what we're good at. We're brown people. That's what we do.
Well, yeah, and we also stopped the Germans and the Japanese. And
yes,
and,
but it's been
we get into
70
skin color,
years
that's where I
since
start having trouble. But
well, come on, it's been 70 years since we bombed any white people, and those were Nazis. They definitely deserved to be bombed, But all this, like, we're pulling out of Afghanistan now, and people are worried the Taliban may take over. You know what? That's their country. They have to rise up and stop that. Sure, we can help them, but it shouldn't be our fight. It's not our fight.
Everybody has their version. Middle East has their version of world peace. Russia has their version of world peace. China has their version of world peace. And so everybody fights for their version of world peace. Welcome to the Planet of the Apes. My point is, I look at it from a globalist perspective. I look at it from hanging out with the eugenic freaking masterminds of the planet and the social engineers. I go, what would I do? Looking based on the evidence, what I would like to see is a global species that understands themselves as a species that exists on one planet, and just get rid of all these weirdo beliefs where if you're invisible people, get together and end child sex trafficking and human trafficking. Wake up to yourself as a human being. Realize that we have a universe in which if we all put our hearts and minds together, we could ascend, the real ascension, up in seed stars. We could do so many wonderful things if people woke the hell up. But that's how I look at it. And when you need to break down certain, like when you have, certain religious beliefs over here, and then other communist beliefs over here, and then other whatever beliefs over here, and these beliefs over here, you're trying to bring this into a global consciousness. There's going to be casualty. It's going to get really nasty in order to get it to move. What I would like to see, again, my bottom line for the whole world is is the freedom of being you as an individual, but understanding yourself as a collective species. But not to put us into some sort of drone thing where you're all like, you're just some, I mean, it's just such a slippery slope, man.
Maybe, but
it's simple to me.
I probably just think too small. I don't really worry about other countries. Most of me just wants to go move into the woods and disappear. That's pretty much where I'm at. Like, look, I can't fix any of this mess. I don't have the power or the resources to fix this. I can worry about my own family, my neighbors, my community that I'm a part of, try to be a good person, try to help people out if I can, if I have the time and the resources to. But most of me just wants to move into the woods and disappear. That's where I'm at. And, you're right. This media, and what are they programming us for? And like, this virtue signaling and all of this crap that's going on in the world. I worry about what kind of world my children are going to grow up in. Because some of this stuff is just getting nuttier and nuttier. And it's like, look at the riots everywhere. People don't even know or understand this. There is riots and violence in a lot of major cities across the U.S., and it hasn't slowed down since our former president left. It's gotten worse. And what do they even want? What do they even want? We don't know. They're not going to ever be satisfied. And we have
I think they're
protests
being
and riots and anti-police sentiment. And I got to tell you, like, I get there needs to be reforms in the police system, but they got tough jobs and they got to deal with a lot. They deal with the dredges of humanity for 8 or 10 hours a day, every single day, and you're not going to get better people when there's liability issues, or you can go to, prison and I get that some cases, certainly a policeman will overstep things and he needs to be punished. But there's other situations like this knife fight. They're gonna criminally charge a guy who was a cop who shot somebody that was about to stab somebody. Yeah. Because he felt he had no other choice. They're gonna criminally charge that guy, and he may go to prison for saving someone's life. And then we've got this stupid. These people are like, it's just like a high school fight. I don't remember high school fights with knives and people getting stabbed.
This is why it's hard for me to even talk about the political scene right now, because it's so ABC for me. Like, it's so clear as a bell that to even talk about it's frustrating, because it's like, wow, you really don't see that it's a psyop, because a psyop doesn't work unless you exploit real needs of people, and so when you try to call it out, they're like, well, you're dismissing a real genuine problem. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm actually what I'm trying to say.
I'm all for police reform and stuff, but this defund the police, and I'm not so stupid.
I was actually not addressing that. I was actually addressing, I think African Americans are being exploited right now, and that was in the plans of the communists from the early 60s, admitted by them.
Slavery, sure.
Yeah. And so I have a number of police officers that I, have acquaintances with in my town, and there's something like 330,000 police officers, and the minority are white in the United States.
Yeah, there definitely should be more minority officers.
Out of hundreds of thousands of police calls where they just show up, and I mean, I sit there and just study live PD or study, I just watch it.
Yeah,
these cops have got some extreme freaking like self-restraint. And of course, there's gonna be someone somewhere. It's gonna, and it's like these people don't put themselves in the place. Like, and the thing of it is, it's so irrational. They go after African American female cops. They go after, like, doesn't matter what your skin color is. While there's
this recent video,
cops racist.
This recent video, there was a woman who got pulled over. She got pulled over and she was calling the cop a murderer, and he was a Mexican. Not that a Mexican can't be racist against black people. I'm sure they can, but come on, man. The guy was a Mexican. He wasn't the white devil holding you down, And you were texting on your phone, and it turns out she had a history of filing frivolous complaints against police officers. Yeah. So they've already investigated some previous stuff. And that video, though, perfectly illustrates the kind of abuse that these guys have to take. So I see both sides of the coin.
They put themselves on the line and their families and everything every time they go out.
There's two professions. There's two professions nobody likes until you really need them, and that is police officers and lawyers, right? Yeah. You can hate on lawyers all you want, but if you get jammed up in a legal situation and you get a good one, you'll love them from then on. Especially a good fighter type. I had a situation where I got in some really garbage, like I had a garbage case brought against me in criminal court, and it cost like $20,000 to I had to hire like a private investigator and a lawyer and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, I was never found guilty of anything. But that just taught me that you can't hate on cops and lawyers, because sometimes you need them. Our society needs them. We need them.
Again, this is why.
And let's defund the police. They tried that in Minneapolis, and the crime rate went through the roof.
But the same people will call the cops.
Yeah, and what are you going to do? I mean? Are you going to send? And people are like, "Oh no, we just want to reallocate resources so we get more social workers and things." You're not sending a social worker out when a guy is naked with a gun or a knife, raving around a neighborhood. because I came from Philadelphia. That's pretty common occurrence, believe it or not. Somebody will get hopped up on meth or heroin or coke or something, and the next thing you know, he's naked. Yeah, he's naked and he's running around with a knife, and cops got to come and tackle some naked dude. You know, who wants to do that?
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's like all these things. Like, that's why I get so frustrated, and I try to really stay out, especially political stuff. It's like, I understand everybody.
Yeah, me too.
We're all human beings. Okay, we're all human animals, right? We live on one planet, and everyone has their needs, and everyone has their perceptions. Yada yada yada. Of course, I'm not for racism. Of course, I'm not for sexism. But when I have to explain that, you know what I mean? It's like I'm talking to the love has won cult. It's like ABC, and I just can't. I'm just like, look, man, I understand this from the globalist level down. I get the big picture. I get who's being exploited. I get where it's going and what's happening. I get why it has to happen, though, and I get that it's going to get worse. And I get that, I hate to say it, most likely we're going to see some nukes go off in some major cities. I hope I'm wrong. Okay, but in big picture, just for me studying this since I was in my 20s, I see where it's going. I see where it's at. I see where the stakes are. And I see, for me, if I was a globalist and how I would do things, logically, you understand, these people are operating on data. And when they're thinking of getting to a goal, they're thinking of data to get to that goal. You know, like one of the things for me, like the first thing I would do if I was running the world is I would get the military involved in child sex trafficking. And I would go in and I would euthanize every child sex trafficker, and then everyone around it, I would microchip them. And so people go, you're bad. Well, what would happen if the result of that was child sex trafficking dropped from 90% down to like 10? Am I bad then? Do you see what I'm saying? So data-driven in operating a planet, you know, that's the way the global leader thinking now. We've got to be careful of you know, regimes like like communist regimes that just do awful things to their people. I mean, it's just like there's ways to do things. You know, I just, it's a big topic, but I big picture see. I understand what's going on. It's frustrating, but I'm like you. That's why I'm by myself. I'm in Sedona, you know. You know, where's my cigar? My new, you know, I don't know. I mean,
just try to keep things in perspective. I honestly, I largely, especially this past year, turned the news off and tried to not care. You know, I worry about local things that are happening or things local to me at the cabin that are important to me or whatever. You know, our community's building a playground for all the kids. So I'm going over there, you know, and trying to help that effort out. But, you know, the bigger picture, there's nothing I can do, you know. Pray. I could pray for peace and
for me it's more entertainment. I think for me, I've just been at it so long that it's more entertaining. I'm like, oh, here we go, grab your popcorn. You know, because I gave up on the human race a long time ago because they're beautiful people in the world, but I understand the basic nature of the human animal. So I don't expect much. I expect goofy, crazy crap, you know. And so I'm like sitting there with popcorn. I'm just like, let it happen. It's a big universe. We got to evolve. You know, we got to change things. It's like we can't sit around praying to Jesus for everything all the time because it ain't working. Sorry, you know.
Yeah, I always like when people say thoughts and prayers are with, you know, victims of stuff. Or it doesn't change things. Sometimes
it's a nice sentiment. I mean,
yeah.
But the problem with it is if you keep praying to invisible zombies for change and you're keep breeding and having babies and going to your Sunday church service, and I'm wondering why the world's different, and you keep praying to the 2,000-year-old Jewish zombie, hoping things are going to change, and then all of a sudden you're like having to like protect your kid from a vaccine, and you're like, well, everything just came down to you know.
The other
I gotta get some ice. Can you give me one?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
I have wine that is. Hold on.
Yeah. So while he's gone, you know, Zzenn ran this thing called the Apocalypse Podcast, and you guys know that I'm building an apocalypse cabin. And all joking aside, I would agree with him that things may become worse in the near future. And I would highly recommend, especially if you live in a city, to get out of the cities. We can see this violence that's breaking out all over the United States in major cities. I came from Philadelphia, and it was interesting that I was not out of Philadelphia for a year or a year and a half, and then the riots and looting in Philadelphia happened, and that was just 2 miles, or less than a mile. Some of those stores that were looted, and the riots and everything took place like less than a mile from my previous home in Philadelphia. So, you know, all joking aside, I joke around about the apocalypse cabin, but I believe that it can't hurt. It can't hurt to have a safe place to escape the cities to. A well-equipped place that you can go chill out if things hit the fan.
Well, you know, think about it. In 1 year, the whole world went into lockdown.
Yeah.
And I was
a lot has
reporting on
changed.
this in the end of 2019. I started reporting on. I went from Unspirituality. I went right over to this report before it was on mainstream news. And overnight, the entire planet went into lockdown. Which goes to show you how quick it can change.
Yeah, remember
And
2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then it turned into a year.
And then I was doing reports on them putting bracelets on people where they would leave their house 25 feet out in front of their house, and law enforcement would show up. And I mean, it was just, you really have to reach to look at what just happened.
Yeah, and I don't think
say
you can
that
put
this isn't the precursor or something.
You can't put this toothpaste back in the tube, too. I
No,
really
you
doubt that
can't.
they're not going to surrender this power. They got used to it.
Mm-mm.
They like
No.
controlling whose businesses can be open and whose can't, and you know where people can go and when they can't go and things like that. You know,
It's obedience training. It's funny how many people just really love it. It's almost like the minute they say, "Well, I don't want to get into COVID." But
yeah, we better avoid this. Talk about
big picture.
Talk about aliens again. Yeah,
Let's get
nobody
back to
cared
the
we
aliens.
do that.
Or
Yeah.
something else. What else? What else going on? What's going on in your thread over there? You got
Yeah, I don't
comments,
know.
questions, or screw off, or what do we have over here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Philip Blair is just whooping some.
He's usually in my chat. What are you doing over there, Philip Blair?
Philip Blair's he's on my channel. Well, I've got that's all it's me and Philip Blair, so deal with it. Fighting for peace. Screw off. Policing shouldn't be dealing with the drags of society for 8 hours a day. A system like that forces people in policing to feel like the public is the enemy during those 8 hours a day. Well, you know, unfortunately, it's I grew up, Stephen, I grew up in LA, and I grew up around gangs. And there's a lot of people, I've met that never had that experience. They don't know what it's like to be terrified that you're going to be surrounded and stabbed, and have that reality in the world, to know that exists, and even worse than you could ever imagine, something that I've always lived with. And I guess in some ways it has protected me and also kept me, and I live in a pretty safe, cozy place, but to have had that experience and know what it's like to be frozen when you're surrounded by a gang, at the age of 14, only to be saved by one of the members that I knew. It's you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are very they don't have that experience. They don't know what the world is like out there and how bad it can be. And what I'm seeing is that it's like there's a ramping up of a war of the humans against the humans. They're getting people just pissed off at each other and constantly pushing these narratives and everything. And it's almost like, in some ways, not only will World War III be this huge war that's brewing right now. I mean, come on, Iran, we're the devil incarnate. Do you think that country is just going to all of a sudden go, "Oh, we love you"? And I'm not talking about the people of Iran. I'm just saying that the powers that be. But you have that, and then I also see that there's this war amongst people. It's almost like World War III is like going to be like this zombie apocalypse. I know it sounds crazy, but I honestly really think that zombie apocalypse media theme, that I really think, because what scares me more than anything, Stephen? It's people.
Mm-hmm. Most dangerous animal.
I'm more scared of people than I am the freaking nuclear bomb. Because at least a nuclear bomb will burn my.
You know, you asked what people were talking about in my live chat. I did a stream recently, and I really went after David Wilcock because he was creating whole new mythology about Jesus, you know, going into the sarcophagus of the Great Pyramid and all this stuff. And I had said, that's very offensive to Christians. And so people were going, well, you kind of just said that prayer doesn't help or won't do anything. And also, people remember that you used to say that Jesus Christ was a zombie. And that's kind of offensive. And so people are like, why aren't you calling him out about that? So if you're
talking about me or
yeah. You said previously that Jesus Christ was a zombie god.
Technically, he
like
is. He technically
well,
is.
he's risen from
the dead.
Yeah, but I don't think.
I mean, that's the technical word for when
that.
somebody rises from the dead, they're a zombie. But I guess the tweaked version is that some people can rise from the dead and be fuzzy light beings.
I guess as a Christian, I can understand why some people would be offended.
Are you a Christian?
Yeah, I'm raised Catholic.
You're a Christian?
Yeah, raised Catholic. Now I'm
breaking news.
Catholic.
Breaking news.
Yeah, now I'm a recovered Catholic. I just consider myself a non-denominational Christian and self-practicing Christian. Like I don't go to a church.
I had no idea.
I keep thinking that I'm going to find a church, but I checked a bunch of them out, and I was really like, I hadn't found a good fit. So
I had no idea, Stephen.
I read the Bible. I've had 12 years of scripture study. I was almost a priest myself. They sent me to seminary.
But your videos are so dark and spooky and scary and
yeah, well, so are some priests.
Did you get reformed?
I had a really bad experience with Catholicism. First, my father was dying in hospice for 6 months. And then when he died, we went to bury him, and the funeral director called me one day and said, there's something going wrong with the church, and they won't do the mass or bury him. They won't let a priest bury him. So I had to go talk to the Monsignor, and it turned out that they wouldn't bury him because they decided he wasn't a Catholic in good standing. And how they made that determination is because they hadn't gotten his envelopes in 6 months. And I got very angry and said, do you know where he was for the past 6 months? He was in hospice, dying. That's why he didn't put his envelopes in. But and I know my father was very Catholic. He would want a priest to bury him. So in order to get them to bury him, all I had to do was pay $20 a month for those 6 months of envelopes. And suddenly he got declared a Catholic in good standing again. And he had volunteered at that church, being a Cub Scout master, and Boy Scout master, and all these other things for years, even past when me and my brother were adults, and he was still doing the Cub Scout thing for the church because a lot of kids around there didn't have fathers to take them camping and teach them stuff.
Right.
And, it was like a sore spot between him and my mother. My mother's like, you're not spending any time with your own boys because you're spending time with all these, strangers' kids, But they wouldn't bury him until we gave him the money, and then suddenly everything was fine. And then I kind of forgave that because my son, my autistic son, needed to go to kindergarten, and they had just gotten some money to do a special needs program and all of this stuff. So we sent my son, and they threw him out in the middle of the year, and he had a full-time person that sat next to him to kind of keep him controlled and help him. It's called a side-by-side. And they still threw him out in the middle of the year, knowing that we couldn't get him placed in any school for the remainder of the year. And there's many other things with Catholicism, and of course the pedo, stuff. There was people in my own church that were suspected, but never one was criminally charged later, but he got off with a hung jury, and So I just decided that I was a better Christian not being Catholic than being Catholic, and I couldn't, in good conscience, continue to remain a Catholic with the stuff that I had seen.
So is Christianity for you, because you're an intelligent guy, so is Christianity for you more of like an inherited feeling, sense of connection to things?
It's also, I suppose, tradition and things. I grew up with it. I find it helpful. Like, I find the wisdom in the Bible helpful. Not all of it, because there's people who argue with me about the Bible, cite stuff, that's ridiculous. You can't wear certain colors, and there's ridiculous things in the Bible, but by and large, there's a lot of wisdom. It's thousands of years of wisdom crammed into one book, and I guess I just grew up with it, and I believed it, and I still do to a large extent. Are there things I question? Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but by and large,
so you've obviously clearly been offended by my Jesus zombie business.
yeah, and I never really talked to you about that. I just like said, like, you know,
you can get mad at me now for it. Now's the time. Go for it.
God, that's God. So to us, that's God. And for you saying he's a zombie, that brings up the image of, you know, zombie and a rotting guy, and you know, he was in perfect form after he was raised from the dead, according to the apostles' accounts and others. You know,
right? But why did he have to be crucified?
You know, I'm unclear on that myself. But if you really ask priests, they will say that he had to sacrifice himself to take away the sins of the world and to open the gates of heaven, right? It's confusing to me as a Christian.
I can clear it all up for
you. You know what else is confusing? If this is God, why would he let himself suffer when he had the power to stop his own suffering and maybe do it a different way? You know?
Well, I can clear it all up.
There's a lot of mysteries. There's a lot of mysteries.
Well, there's no mystery. Actually, I can clear it all up for you if you want, but maybe this is not the time. But if you want, I can clear the whole Christian thing up for you like that.
Okay, I'm here.
You want me to do it now?
Well, as long as you don't take 3 hours.
Well, no, I can actually do it in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, really. Go ahead.
The whole story is simply this: that God was hanging out and created a garden for two people, a man and a woman. This is the metaphor. And right in the smack in the middle of that garden, he puts the knowledge, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
You are
right in the middle of the garden, right? So as long as his subjects are obedient to him and do not partake of the knowledge of good and evil, because he said himself that they will be like me, he doesn't want that. So they had to be obedient. If they're obedient like a mafia boss, if you're obedient, then you get my graces and my goodies and behave yourself. But I know I put the tree in the middle of the damn garden, but do not.
And after that, everyone was born with original sin.
So yeah, so Eve, you know, was cool, and she hung out with a snake and ate an apple. So this God decides to cause everybody to suffer, and then all this horror in the Old Testament. And the only way to be free, so that he doesn't completely destroy the world, is that you have to sacrifice thousands and thousands of goats every year, and enough blood has to run in order for him to not murder everybody because of that sin. So then he goes, well, we need one final sacrifice to just kind of, so we can just stop the goat business. So he goes, what would be the perfect sacrifice so that I would not be so pissed off at everybody? Because that's exactly what it was. And because they disobeyed me. And so he goes, oh, my son, my own child. I'll have my child be born, and then the child has to live a perfect life, sinless, and then they are tortured. And he has to be tortured for a period of time long enough in which the suffering and the blood sacrifice appeases God. He achieved it. He didn't sin. He achieved total blood sacrifice. I mean, and this is the old blood sacrifice meme, the old mythos of all the old God, all the old traditions, and all the old mythos. Nothing different. So he needed a sacrifice. So he got his son, the perfect sacrifice, right? Also that he wouldn't murder everybody for Eve's sins. So if you accept the bloody sacrifice of Jesus, then you will not go to hell and be permanently tortured. Even in hell, if you ask forgiveness, you'll still be permanently tortured. So the only point of the Jesus thing is that you don't get permanently tortured by the mafia boss. You must submit. Now you've got serial killers who live their whole life killing and raping and murdering, and at the last breath they can go, I
repent. Yeah, I've always had a problem with that premise as well. So sure, there's things I don't agree with or have problems.
You have people that are social workers, they've done all these things, blah, 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 but because they don't submit to the mafia boss, they go to hell and burn forever. They've done in their life is help people. But because they did not bow their head to the mafia boss, they will. So it's an obedience.
But also, you also have to remember that the Bible is written by men, and sometimes I think that they can't. I don't believe that a man can truly understand the nature of God. So I think that there's some things that the Bible got right about the nature of God and some things that the Bible got wrong. I mean, we can see a perfect example of this is that the Old Testament God was wrathful. And would a perfect being be wrathful? Would he be jealous? He was jealous, essentially, of them worshiping. You can't worship other gods before me, So he was certainly jealous. He was wrathful and angry at times, and
sounds like Satan.
Hurt people. Yeah. The argument could be made, and some people actually believe that the God of the Old Testament is a different God than the New Testament God somehow.
But it can't be because the New Testament God required human sacrifice.
Yeah. There's a lot of strange things in the Bible for sure. But generally, I'm worried about this myself because my children don't go to church and they're not, and I thought about, it was helpful to me growing up to learn that morality and the 10 Commandments and the structure and to turn the other cheek and all of these things that are certainly good, spiritual practices. So for me, it's more, I kind of forgive the inconsistencies and the things I don't understand as being probably problems generated by men trying to understand the true nature of God and getting some things wrong.
But it's tremendously hypocritical, the nature of the Bible and the story itself. It's so far beyond. It's worse than Hitler. It's so far beyond anything that would be love. That's why I argue against that.
Because there's examples in the Bible where God told them to kill those people. Go kill those people, and then there's the it's in the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill, but then the God of the Bible is telling them go and kill those.
And kill the children and rape them. I mean, there's all
there's lots of things in the Bible that you can.
My whole point when I hit it hard, and I know people are gonna hate me for it, blah blah blah, but I hit it hard to crack it. And the point being is that all that love and stuff for children and ethics and morals. You see that all over the place with atheists and secularists and everything. It's natural. It's just a matter of thinking about. Someone asked me, what is your version of right and wrong? I said, survival. I said, why do you do what you do? The survival of your family. Why do you increase communication? Why do you stop child sex trafficking in your town? It's for a higher level of survival. So what I'm saying is it's a crutch for people to believe in the story that's literally the opposite of what it is that they're claiming is love. And so I'm saying, let me invite you to a higher level, drop the story and be that thing. Because the real thing is, like, the Christian thing is just simply it's a template over what the real love is. Like, people want the real thing. They think it's that. And it's not that. It's actually secondary element to the real thing. The real thing is that you look at life and you go, I survive, I live, I am part of the universe. And I do things because I want to have a better survival level for me and for my children and for my family and for my friends and for my town and for my world. That's why I do what I do. But when people, and I understand why people do it, but when they use religion as this.
Oh no, I'm not the preachy type.
You know what I mean?
I rarely even mention it to people unless I'm asked or whatever. But people were talking about you calling Jesus a zombie, and I wasn't really offended because I understand, like, if
then you can write me off as Zzenn as well, and that's easy too.
You're like, well, it's just Zzenn popping off again. No, I wasn't. I remember back when you said that, I wasn't really offended, and I don't feel the need to reach out to you because I'm kind of like, hey, this is part of my belief and my morality and my spirituality, and if you disbelieve, great. But I've had talks with people who would bring up things that were in the Bible that sound crazy and inconsistencies and things that don't make sense. And like I said, my general understanding is just, people get things wrong. And also, some people would argue that Christ came to set things right that people were misinterpreting or not. God sent prophets. He sent Moses and he sent other prophets, and maybe people corrupted their teachings and didn't follow their teachings, and someone had to come and set things right again and clarify what is God's will. And I can't think of a better person than his son, but if you really dig deeper into the spiritual side of it, it's the Holy Spirit, Jesus, and God, all one God, different facets of God, or different,
trust me,
forms of God, and that's mysterious.
I was a Christian.
Brain bender.
I was a Christian missionary. I carried a 10-foot cross on my back and preached the gospel to people
Yeah,
on
I
the
heard
street.
about that stuff.
And I can trust me, I was the most sincere Christian ever until I figured out the damn story, and I go, oops. It's I'm a special weapon against Christianity. And when they start getting into, oh, but the Bible says this, Bible says that, I go, you're not looking at this core story. The core story is a very mafioso story. If you don't accept my bloody sacrifice, you die, obey or die. But it's no different. There's a really good documentary called Caesar's Messiah. I believe that the Roman Empire created the story of Christianity as a mind control project because it works perfectly in making slaves out of people, obedient slaves. So why I hit it so hard and why I've had a lot of flack is that one thing I've found about dealing with belief systems is that one of the effective ways of dealing with them is cracking them hard and fast. And people hate you for it, but you crack it hard and fast and you mock it and you make it such a, you just smash it. And it blows open the trance. It cracks the trance because they're not expecting it to hit that hard. So the zombie thing of Jesus is one of those things. But where am I going to it? Why do I say it? It's because I understand that true human love is built into us. True human understanding about the reality that we live in is built into us. And we don't require these stories. And the history of what happens to civilizations with these stories is a horror. So I'm simply inviting people to understand that these are stories that have been used throughout history, and that if you could use your imagination to be more fluid instead of being stuck in the story, that it's more a fluid, real-time visionary movement, that you're sitting there and you're thinking about child sex trafficking, or you're thinking about human trafficking, or you're thinking about drug abuse, or you're thinking about whatever it is, and that these ideas become fluid and new real-time understandings happen, and you do something in real time. But if you're stuck in a story, in a religious story, you can only deal with that within the story construct. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can only, like Jesus and the devil and Christian morality and whatever, you can only deal with it in that construct. So I'm pointing people to fluidity, fluid thought forms, fluid, in real time. So you can move in real time. So that's the whole point of why I do that. And I hit it hard. And I know when I'm doing it, I'm going to get flack, but I it's just like, that's what I'm good at. Because I had to deal with such bullshit in my life. And the only way I got through it was by confronting the teachers that were full of BS and get kicked out of churches and stuff. And I just said, it's a flipping duck. You're excommunicated from my church.
There are certainly things. There are certainly things in any church that are worthy of criticism and critique and things like that. And again, somebody in my live chat is asking me, why was I offended when David Wilcock was talking about Jesus, and not so offended when you were saying Jesus was a zombie? Well, because I could kind of understand. But here's the deal: like, David Wilcock is telling these stories about Jesus from a channeled book, claiming that they're true stories, and he's selling a course on this stuff about the nature of God and things like that. And you were just talking. You weren't like, Jesus is a zombie. Buy my course. Jesus is a zombie. So it's just different to me. And also to be very, very clear too, when you say stuff like that, I just go, well, he doesn't understand, and he doesn't have the same relationship with Jesus that I do. So, or feel that I do. So, let him believe what he wants. Like I said, I rarely talk about religion or spirituality, and I stay out of things. Like if somebody,
and I respect that. That's perfect.
I've got people that I know that are totally into Satanism and devil worship and things like that. Not necessarily friends, but like I don't go try to save them. If they ask me for help, if they say, I'm having a tough time and I need to pray, or I don't know what to do, or I'll give them a rosary or a book or a Bible and point them in the right direction. But I don't really. I keep my spirituality and my religion.
Yeah, and I respect
personal.
that.
It's personal. it's like a personal practice, and I don't push it on anybody. I kind of don't like when people, people knock on your door, Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever, like just kind of go, it's great that you believe that, but I have my own beliefs, and it's offensive for you to come here and try to convert me.
Exactly. And that's why I asked if it was okay that I shared.
No, everybody's got their own interpretation.
Like, I mean, on my YouTube channel, I can say anything I want, but I got to tell you, in real life, I mean, you never see me go up to anybody and like, like it's your world. In the old channel, I was very left-hand path, and sometimes I'd wear the satanic symbol and stuff. People were like, "Oh, he's a Satanist and stuff," and it was like, well, the funny thing about it is that I really appreciate Anton LaVey's work.
And a lot of people do.
The funny thing about it, his work doesn't reflect satanic sacrifice and all that bullshit.
No, it's mostly selfish hedonistic stuff.
Well, yeah, he was basically going against the Christian slavery mindset. That's all that was, and I dug it, when I read the just vintage, 1966 LaVey stuff, and it resonated with me. Like, he's like, we're human animals and stuff, and I was like, wow, I came to the same conclusion before I even read your book. And then of course they had all their other silly stuff. It was a religion stuff, but I dug it, and I liked the bad boy feeling of it and all that stuff. And I have always been more resonated with Left Hand Path, Christopher Hyatt and those. I have been. It's just been but what does it really mean? Like, what's really going on there? Can you transcend it? Can you go deeper? And it was simply that I had to fight for my rights against authority. I had to fight for people who claim to be the light and love authority because of light and love, and we're the good moral ground, and we're it, and we're that. And then I would find that it was the opposite, through my life. And so I became a rebel, and for good reasons, it's just like, screw you. It's not real. Sorry. Get real, get right. I don't want to hear your stuff about how peaceful and loving and crap you are when you can't even show up when you say you're going to show up.
Well, that's a problem.
Shut up and show up.
Yeah, I described this problems that I had with the Catholics and the priests and everything, and I later had to make peace with that and forgive them and just say, I can't take it out on Jesus and an entire religion because I was mistreated by these two representatives of that religion.
Right.
So I kind of had to separate the two and just say they weren't good Christians, because a good Christian wouldn't have their hand out when my father had just died 3 days before that. A good Christian would console me and help me through the grief or whatever,
Right.
There's problems in all religions, though, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, whatever, my thing is I'm a fire, and what I do is a fire, and, like I say, that's why you can do it on your YouTube channel. I don't knock on people's doors. It's like, but if you come to my YouTube channel, be prepared to listen to that Jesus is a flipping zombie. I've just learned,
and that's your belief, though. Other people believe.
Yeah, and I can't. It's not about controlling any. Either it makes you think about it, but you know what I mean? It's like, you could say whatever you want to say about whatever I do. It's your thoughts about it. And if I'm a true seeker, I'm going to go, well, let me think about that. Maybe what you're saying has, you know what I mean? Like, here's what's weird for me. I've always been a truth seeker. I've always been willing to just completely burn whatever it is that I thought was real. And I think that's weird for me and I just think that everybody's going to be like that. I think when I come in and I just bring the sword in and just, I just think that people are going to go, wow, I didn't think of it that way. You know what I mean? I just stripped everything down to basic, nothing.
No, and listen, I certainly understand going for shock value. So saying something like that is going to be controversial, get people talking or whatever, or shock them into thinking about it. It's a valid methodology if you're trying to shake people's opinions and beliefs. So, I don't.
And it's not really, Stephen. It's not really a missionary standpoint. It's really just kind of coming from my truth. Like I just really the way I see it, and you share your thoughts,
Yeah. Well, you know,
Well,
we're over 2 hours now, so I think we're going to wrap it up.
yeah, sounds good.
We're going to wrap it up here, and then what I'm going to do is jump into my stream and talk to my live chat and a few other things briefly, give some attention over there.
Okay,
But
sounds good, man.
It was cool doing this first simulcast. You know.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
I wish I would have
Thanks,
figured out that I couldn't have did it. I thought I knew exactly how to do it, and then we started, and everything was wonky, and I had 3 echoes in my ears going, "Oh, wait, I can't." The volume's got to be up when I
Right.
restream it, but I
Right.
can't on one computer. But now I know. I just need a second PC over
Yeah.
there. Luckily, there was one up and ready, so we were able to technically do this. So I know that I can do it with others as well.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks, man, for being here. And
Yeah, and I hope
really
we'll stay.
enjoyed the
I hope we'll
jam
stay
and-
in touch. Sure.
Yeah, well, I'm here if you ever want to just do an off whatever, hang out like we did the other night. That'd be fun. I like your mind, I like your thoughts, and it's good hanging out with you, man.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Peace
All
out.
right.
Good night.
All right. Let me see how I do this.
Hold on
now.
a second here. Hold on a second. Steve is going bye-bye.
Yes.
Hold on a second. I think I'm going to stay on for a minute here. Hold on. If I can figure out. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Let me make sure this is working. Check one. There we go. Yeah. So there we are, friends. The first simulcast between our show and another show. And I guess I just wanted to pop on here and give some time and attention to the live chat. I was hopeful that I could still shout out the super chats, but it looks like I cannot see them right now. I know that FGraf72 sent a kind and generous, I think it was $2 donation. So thank you very much for your kindness, your generosity, and support. And he's from Twitter. Let me see if I can find. I don't know if he wants me to shout out his actual name. Yeah. But thank you for the kind and generous $10 super chat donation. For those unaware, we got super chats now. So you can hit that little money button in the live chat and send us some money. Wow, that's odd. Yeah, so I still have, I have some things that I want to address. I don't generally talk about religion on the show, or especially my religion. And CW Channer was here earlier. He brought up a really good point. I was very offended by David Wilcock and him making up stories about Jesus. And I guess the perception was I was not very offended when Zzenn talked about Jesus being a zombie. Honestly, when he said that kind of stuff, I said to myself, he's ignorant. And that's a nasty thing to say because it certainly would offend people that are Christians. But I kind of instantly forgave him. Like I went, he doesn't understand. Maybe he doesn't understand it the way that I understand it. I don't know. Rogue Status says, "You're my new favorite lapsed Catholic buddy." Yeah, Rogue Status, you're in Philly, right? You probably went to, did you go to Catholic school too? I went to Catholic school in Port Richmond, Philadelphia. St. Adalbert's, 12 years, man. Well, St. Adalbert's in the Northeast Catholic high school for boys. I went to an all-boys high school. Boy, was that fun, Rogue Status, right? Yeah, so, but back to my point about religion is that I don't know. It's kind of like I was saying, it's hard to articulate my thoughts on this, but like when I hear somebody make a statement about Jesus that I believe is incorrect, sometimes I'm offended, but I guess I was more offended by David Wilcock because he's going to be teaching this course like the mind of God and the universe or something. And he is throwing this Jesus story out of a channeled book and trying to sell it for money. So I was more offended by him because first of all, he is, he is profiting from a fake story about Jesus climbing into a sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid. Zzenn, one-time Christian. I know he was a one-time Christian, and he like was doing the missionary thing for quite some time. He was deep in a very, very like born again, I believe it was, sort of Christian cult. And I took a lot of what he said to be, I don't know, kind of like when I had my bad experience with Catholics, I was angry at God and Jesus for it for a while. So I took it as, him maybe having a bad experience and rebelling or, lashing out against Christians and Christ. I didn't take it as I did with Wilcock. And maybe I should. Maybe it's just different situation, or maybe I should be more offended and maybe C.W. Channer is right. But mostly today, I got to give it to you there. We should have asked him about that. Zzenn is selling a book that offers what is essentially mental health therapy without a license. That could be problematic for me. I did not know that he's offering mental health advice in his book. I thought that his book is an exploration of his religious journey that he was taking through different cults, and he was in he talks about this being a Satanist or left-hand path for a while, being in a Christian cult and other things. I did not know he's offering mental health therapy in his book. That I would have a problem with. And I want to thank Eric Anderson for a kind and generous $5 donation. You have my gratitude. And he says, thanks, Stephen Cambion, for being sincere. I'm doing my best. And this was very uncomfortable tonight. I didn't think it was going to be, but it got very uncomfortable because I don't want to be mean to the guy, but there's a lot of things he said that I go, that's a little nutty. And I don't think I don't believe that this fake alien invasion is going to happen. I believe it's a money-making scam by Stephen Greer. But we could agree to disagree. UFO Gandalf with a kind and generous $5 donation says Jesus is and I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, a 2, a dot. I don't know. Let me know what you mean by that, and we'll shout it out again. So I got to tell you, thanks so much for the super chats. I'm so happy that they're turned on. I really should be working harder and doing more streams. Yesterday, we had the worst show ever. Like, I never had a show go that bad. I want to apologize for it. But in my defense, the guest was 55 minutes late and basically never showed up. So I tried to fill time for 55 minutes waiting for him, and then I gave up. I privated the stream. If you do want to see it, I'll make it unlisted and send you the link. If you want to see me die on air trying to fill time for an hour waiting for a guest, it was not very fun. And based on what C.W. Channer said, I'm going to buy that book and I'm going to read it and see and I'll review it. I'll see what I think about it. I am totally against somebody giving mental health or therapy advice when they are not a psychiatrist or psychologist and are not qualified to do so. But sometimes these things are gray area. Like he could just say he's giving life advice, not mental. Here we go. Just call it spiritual advice and not therapy, and it's all good, right from the playbook of L. Ron Hubbard. Could be. And listen, of course, there are things that he says that I don't agree with. But here's the deal. He reached out to me last weekend. I was at the cabin, and I couldn't sleep, and it was like 3:00 in the morning. And he sent me a message like, "Hey, I wanted to reconnect with you. What have you been up to?" And we talked, and then we talked on the phone. And, he did talk to me about this sort of meltdown that he had. And he seemed very sincere. And he said, "Hey, what I did was wrong. If people can't forgive me for it, I'm sorry. I tried apologizing the best that I could, to my understanding of apologizing." And I do remember but people were not, I believe that people were not satisfied with the sincerity of his apology or whatever. But the fact that he admitted that what he did was wrong, to me, went, well, I forgive you. Like, you didn't hurt or damage me. Like, I don't have anything against you. And honestly, I joked about that. I made fun of him. So I apologized to him for making fun of him instead of trying to help him through what was obviously a difficult time for him. As a fellow show host, I understood some of what he was going through, and I should have went to him and try to help instead of make fun of him on my show. But that's what I did. I went on my show and went like, send me some money, you leeches, donate right now. You know? Yeah, CW, he could have reached out to you or me. Maybe he just was not feeling like talking to anybody. Maybe he did not think that he could. You know, maybe he didn't think we would help him, especially you didn't. But I went on my show making fun of the whole thing and making fun of him. And that was the wrong thing to do. When I've apologized to him, that was not the right thing to do when a guy's obviously having a hard time. And listen, I understand that he angered people and he hurt people and he upset people. But he is saying that he was wrong with what he did and he was going through a tough time. I don't see a problem. Me personally, because he didn't do this to me. So it's not me that has to forgive him, but I forgave him. And he's forgiven me for making fun of him. And I thought that was a good thing. It shows growth from both of us. Like he's grown. He's had time to think about what he said and what he did and how he melted down and how he may have pissed people off and hurt people. And, you know, I just think, you know, people were upset with me for even talking to him. And I get that. You guys are pissed. But, you know, I think every man deserves a road to redemption, right? And he used to be, you're right, CW, he used to be on your stream. He used to be on my show. He'd be on his show. And one thing I'll say is that he lost most of his audience and he started over, right? Most of the audience pretty much abandoned his show when he started acting like that. And maybe that was karma. You can't yell and scream at your audience and insult people constantly and keep them. I love my audience, and I would never do something like say, donate right now, you leeches. Not seriously, but I've done it in jest. But I get where he was coming from at the time. Like people were criticizing him, and you know, he was having a tough time. He was having a tough time at the time. And when you're already having a tough time and maybe you're under financial stress and then you're working really hard on this creative show thing that you're trying to do and it's not really making money and people in the live chat complaining and being critical constantly of your efforts, I can understand why he melted down. And, you know, and again, you're right. CW was right. He could have reached out to me. I would have certainly talked him through it or try to help him. And so would CW. CW, I think, despite my differences with him, I believe at heart that he is a good person. And if I'm sure of this, no matter what else I think about him, CW Channer, if I went to him and was having a real hard time and I went to him for advice or to be consoled or to be helped, he would try to help me. And I would do the same for him. Yeah, that's another thing. Racist right-wing propaganda that followed. You know, that's why I stay out of politics. Tonight is the most I've talked about politics and what's going on in the world in ever online. I just don't talk about politics, you know. Yeah, Pragmatic says, I truly believe in redemption. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't working for it. However, that so we're measured bad take after bad take. Yeah, I think he compounded it because he doubled down at first. He did something wrong, and then he wouldn't just admit that what he did was wrong. He'd try to explain it away or, you know, whatever. But, you know, what I say is I wish the best for him. I wish the best for everyone. And I hope that he's in a better place. He seems to be much more lucid and a better place, you know, mentally and not so. When that stuff was happening, he was very high strung. He seemed to be very edgy and like his mind was racing and he was high strung. CW Channer, well, that's one thing I could listen. That's one thing I cannot help you with, CW Channer. Not in my current situation. Hit me up in a little while. Maybe the super chats will increase. But I did contribute to your legal fund once while you still had the ability to take super chat donations, right? And yeah, Out of Mind is here. And listen, Out of Mind is one of the people I don't want angry at me for talking to this guy because, yeah, he said nasty things to Out of Mind and he should apologize directly if he has not already done so. And You know, I don't want anybody upset with me for even talking to the guy or for doing this tonight. And someone did, I can't remember who, but somebody suggested that I did this for publicity or something. No. Listen, if anybody goes and checks on the statistics, you know, or somebody said I did it to get bigger numbers, or I don't know. Look, he had like 6 people in his live chat, or you know, something like that, and we had 40 at the top. We have 37 people watching right now. If anything, I was giving him a bump and trying to help him mend some fences so that, you know, people are no longer angry at him. It wasn't for numbers or anything like that, you know. Oh, good. I just breathed a sigh of relief. I'm like, I hope she's not mad at me. I like Out of Mind. I am not angry at you, Stephen. You need to follow your own path. No worries. Yeah, and look, this is like a one-time thing. It's not like I'm going to have him on my show or I'm going to be on his show every week, you know. But I just thought, you know. Yeah, Lee Veltman says, I was there for the great G off Out of Mind snafu. It was kind of funny. Well, I don't like that guy G off. I think that guy G off is a J off. That's what I think. And he's one of the few people I had to block because he's got some kind of weird obsession with Sarah Adams. And when I did the first Sarah Adams thing, he, you know, thought all this, you know, I was selling out or trying to bang her or something. That's why I was giving her a pass on her fake superpowers. I was just starting investigating her claims of having these superpowers. He lost his mind. He was sending me like 20 messages a day. He was very threatening. And as soon as you start threatening, I go, that's it. You're out of my life. You know, it is what it is. But I do think lessons here for you. Yeah, listen, here's what I'm learning. I'm learning that if you have a big group of friends, somebody in that group of friends is going to hurt somebody else in that big group of friends. And it may be difficult for you to remain friends with all of them. So really, I haven't spoken to him until just last week at the cabin and tonight and for months, for like almost a year, you know? Yeah, and nobody's mad at me, Rogue Status. Rogue Status says, I'm mad at you because you talked to someone I don't like. I hated high school. Then nobody's mad at me, but people took note of the fact that, you know, suddenly I'm talking to this guy. It was kind of, you know, he became a black sheep and everybody sort of turned their back on him. And part of me felt bad for him, obviously. Like, you know, I believe that he had a bigger show than me for a long, long time, right? But this also goes to show you how quickly things can change, right? I could screw up tomorrow and say something that I'll regret, and you guys will all be gone, right? And, you know, this could happen to me as well. So I guess it was a mixture of things like, CW Channer, I'm mad at you. That's okay. And I got to tell you that the CW Rander character is almost ready. CW Channer, I got that Joy Division shirt you always wear. I got one. And I got your messy office background. I got it. And this thing looks the best. This is going to be the CW Ranter character is going to be the best character as far as realism goes that I've ever done, because I have his background, I have his shirt, I got the beard. It's going to be lovely. I'm not sure that I'm going to have time to do it this week. If worst case scenario, it's next Monday night will be the CW Ranter performance, right? V says, I never turn my back. Well, that's probably a good way to do it. Sarah had her defenders who will white knight hard. Yeah, and I believe tomorrow I'm going to do a show on Sarah R. Adams' recent appearance on Jimmy Church. And we can all laugh at Jimmy. I vet everything on my show 3 times Church, who basically helped a fake psychic who scams people for money and sells people like $1,000 course in how to open stargates, find more victims. So congratulations to you, Jimmy Church, for helping this fake psychic find more victims. You platformed her. Good for you, bro. Good for you. Lee Veltman, I agree with this. Church having Sarah R. Adams, then Billy Carson, is kind of hilarious. No, look at the week he had. He has Sarah R. Adams, then Billy Carson, and then he's going to have Linda Moulton Howe. I don't think there is how could you have that much bullshit on your show in 1 week, right? V says, never turn your back no matter what. Yeah, I don't know. Andrew Whitley, when is the next show? Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Or it might be at 10 p.m. It depends on how quickly I get to the cabin. Sometimes there's a lot of traffic, or some things may happen that prevent a show tomorrow night, but there will definitely be one on Friday night at 8 or 9 p.m. We got a lot of stuff to finish at the cabin, but now that they turned the super chats on, I feel like I should be working more on the show and doing more things for the show. Trying to juggle a lot of things at once right now in my life, and it's not going real good sometimes. I take on too many projects, and the show is a huge project. All the things that I got to do for the show is a huge project. Oh, and by the way, I need to take a break anyway. So I noticed that Pragmagic was in the live chat, and you go, Truthseekers. Yeah, thank you, Steph. Steph is going to be back here to do tarot card readings on the 11th and the 25th of this month. Oh, and I noticed, I can't tell what you're thinking right now. It's not pleasant. Charles Unleashed is here. Pragmagic is here. Greeting, Andrew. Good to see you. Yeah, so I mentioned that I need to take a quick break because got to hit the head. But here's what I'm going to do. We said that we're going to do a musical guest for every show. So I reached out to a bunch of musician friends that I know and got a bunch of people to agree to let me use their music as a musical guest. So tonight we have Pragmagic's project, Dakota Slim. I want to thank him for allowing me to use him as a musical guest. I will be right back, friends. Please enjoy our musical guest tonight, Pragmagic. And shout out to Pragmagic. He's in the live chat, so he could see that I'm actually using what he told me I could use. Thank you, Pragmagic. Keats, a.k.a. Dakota Slim. He's got way too many names, but here we are, friends. So there we are. I'm going to thank tonight's musical guest, Dakota Slim. You can search him on YouTube and find a whole bunch more of his music. He just created a new album that you could buy for just a few pennies of PayPal money, and I highly recommend it. Oh, no. Daniel from the context says, great stream, Stephen. Got to see Zzenn Duck and Weave and Salty CWC. 10 of 10. Would watch again. Oh, man. Salty CW. Oh, Seethe. Yeah, I think those two should do a stream together. Wouldn't you like to see that? I know Zzenn would do it. So CW, message him. You could do the same kind of thing. You could do, like a simulcast or catch up or whatever. Or if they both want to, I'll do a show and they can both come as a guest and they can both share it to both of their channels as well. Pragmatic is here, says thanks, everyone. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Share like Six Design. I haven't seen you in a while. I was worried about you. And I was just I made a mental note twice to check in with you on Twitter and see where you've been, because I haven't seen you. I was kind of like, I have not seen Six Design for quite some time. Hope he's good. Glad to see you back. Always helping the show and a great chat room monitor. So we missed you. Glad that you are back, right? Yeah, and I got to do that. And to remind everybody to please do like, comment, and subscribe. That really does help the show. YouTube AI algorithm gods love it when you like, comment, and subscribe. I've been trying more lately to reply to more of the comments. I at least like every comment, and I reply to those that I can. The comment section of the videos is really picking up lately, which I'm happy to see. So please do like, comment, and subscribe, and send some of our video links to your friends or our channel address and ask them to subscribe. And one other thing that I will definitely try to bring is, let me see. Please do, this is very important, please follow us at www.twitch.tv/Truthseekers Show. If you don't have a Twitch account, it only takes 2 minutes and an email verification, and you can sign up for Twitch. We are just over, I believe, we are just over the Twitch threshold for becoming an affiliate, which means they might turn some Twitch money on for us, which would be nice. But I think first we have to average 3 people watching a stream. And that's going to be difficult considering there's sometimes nobody in the Twitch chat stream, or one person, but you know, we're going to try, we will try to hit those numbers, right? Because that may become an income stream for our show. And also, you know, it's not good to keep all your eggs in one basket. So I think it's good to have an alternate streaming platform that we can depend on in case, God forbid, something happens with the channel on YouTube. Okay, and it looks as if we have 52 followers. So yeah, we passed the 50 follower mark for needing to become an affiliate. And let me see. No, I don't see any other notifications. And also, I do have to shout out somebody, very kind person. You remember, we have the super chats now, so I haven't been mentioning, but you can donate by PayPal. There's a one-time donate button on PayPal, or excuse me, on our About section. If you go to the About section of our channel, or in the channel in the upper right corner, there's a little donate by PayPal button. You can use that and make a PayPal donation, which directly supports the show. Everything you see here, was paid for with viewer-supported help, which I'm very proud of. So we had somebody send on May 4th a kind and generous $30 donation. I want to acknowledge and thank them. Really means a lot to me. That's very generous of you. And just said support of Truthseekers Show. Now, they did not include their user ID, so I emailed them and said, please give me your chat room user ID because I would very much like to thank you live on air, and they chose to remain anonymous. Yeah. And Andrew Whitley is correct. 1 second, Andrew. I was getting there. Yeah, so I've been behind. I haven't been checking in because of the because of the super chats lately. I have not been checking in. But Andrew Whitley and BG's, both with a kind and generous donation of $10 recently as well. So I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for your generosity and your continued support of the show. Really does mean a lot to me. I'm going to get to live a dream here. Basically, you know, I'm sure when I was a kid, I thought, I want to run my own television show. But at the time, my only frame of reference was like Merv Griffin and Johnny Carson. So when I was a little kid, I remember thinking, yeah, I want to run my own talk show like Merv Griffin or Johnny Carson. Show my age, Merv Griffin. But yeah, I'm getting to do that. I'm getting to just basically make a television show. And one other bit of business that I wanted to mention is that, so thank you, Andrew Whitley, and thank you, BG's, who I didn't see tonight, but maybe she'll hear me thanking her on the replay. Thank you guys very, very much. And thank you to our anonymous donator who gave me $30 and doesn't even want the shout. Well, they were okay. They just went, I'd rather people didn't know, you know, whatever. I want to remain anonymous. Please respect that. And certainly we do. If you want to remain anonymous, yeah. Oh yeah, Bernard Conkin is here. Can I get you anything, bro? Like a watch? Bernard Conkin was 55 minutes late to our show last night. It made me fill time for 55 minutes. And then I just gave up. I gave up on you, bro. I gave up on you, Mr. Conkin, but we're going to try that again sometime. We're definitely going to try that again. Eric Anderson says, a subversive show disguised as a variety show, disguised as a quiz show. Yes. And Six of Design says, thank you, $30 donator. Yeah, that is so generous. Thank you, especially in today's economy. So thank you very, very much, kind and generous anonymous donator. We really do appreciate it. Every dollar helps to keep the show rolling along. Oh, I was talking about these, a little bit of showbiz stuff that I just wanted to talk about. I had a few people, two, complain to me that the show is not in full HD. This is a StreamYard limitation and not a limitation, it's not like I definitely have full HD webcams, but StreamYard limits you to 720 HD, not 1080 HD, unless you pay them twice as much. And I was considering doing that, but really, you get more streaming locations, and the only one that I'm aware of right now that I could go to is DLive. I don't think Periscope is working yet, or they haven't finished integrating it with Twitter, right? So I'm not sure that's even working now. Yeah, so it's certainly we would prefer to be HD, but I don't consider paying twice as much for the software worth it if all we're going to get out of it is higher video quality. And the reason that I believe that is because I was unaware of this until I really dug into the YouTube statistics recently. Most people are watching or listening to the show on their phones. So the difference between 720 and 1080 on your phone is not going to matter. It'll matter if you're watching me on a 50 or 70 inch big screen TV in your living room. But most people, and I was actually surprised by this, most people are watching on their phones. So the difference in quality is not going to matter very much. Also, I did recently work on the multi-camera setup again, and I got it almost licked. Next week, we're multi-camera. So there's going to be at least 3, probably 5 cameras in here. I've figured it all out, how to get it all working. And Rogue Status, if it's not too personal, how old is your little boy? My youngest is 4, and he turns 5 at the end of this or I'm sorry, he doesn't turn 5 until June 11th. So pretty shortly, he will be 5 years old. And my oldest is 9 now, Rogue Status, and both boys. So I have quite an active and loud household. Rogue Status says mine is 4. Hey, we got to have a play date, right? That'd be fun. My kid could use some other kids around, Rogue Status. I don't know about yours, but my kid has been in the house by himself or with me or his brother and mother for like a year now. He used to go to preschool and he had other friends and things, and that's gone. And I hate that, Yeah. Jeremy was going to click onto your show until he realized that you weren't live, and I was the reason why. But we all have much love for you, my friend. I will be on next time. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna have to work around your sleep schedule, dude. Because I don't. What do you do? Go to bed at noon, and you can't wake up by 8 o'clock to be somewhere at 9 o'clock? That's crazy, bro. But it is what it is. Bernard Conkin says, much love and respect to you all. And oh, Rogue, you get them every other weekend. Well, listen, I will listen because you're so close and a fellow Philly native, right? We're going to be having a birthday party for him here. Hopefully, it'll be on the weekend that you have your son. You're most welcome here. We're going to have like a superhero party with Spider-Man and maybe Batman too. I don't know. Every year we do some kind of character for him, and he wants superheroes. Bernard Conkin, I'm a nocturnal vampire for sure. Yeah, like every good crazy person, especially crazy mad scientist type, that's definitely. BS Alert Buddy says, Jeremy wants to ask Jeremy about Battelle. Yeah, Battelle Institute is very, very interesting, and they may have all those alien stuff. They might be the reason, BS Alert Buddy, that we don't know the truth about aliens, because the people from the Battelle Institute are hoarding that up, right? I feel weird. Not gonna lie, why not highlight my comments? Did I miss something that you said that was important, Prag Magic? I apologize. I don't know. Artists. Rock status. My kid is a Hulk freak. Well, I don't think we can manage the Hulk, but we might manage Spider-Man and Batman, or Spider-Man or Batman. We'll see what happens, right? Yeah. So listen, we're going on 3 hours now of this, and once in a while I like a long stream because honestly the numbers are better. Mostly because people jump in and listen to 20 minutes and then jump out. Maybe they come back and listen to it again. I don't know why, but if you do a long stream, like a 3-hour stream, the numbers are generally better than if you do like a half hour or an hour stream. Once in a while, I will do a long one, and I feel like you guys got gypped yesterday because there was no show. So, oh, I didn't know that. I apologize. I could have used something else. Did you tell me you didn't want me to play it on the show with Zzenn? If you did, oh my, jeez. See, now I've offended somebody. It's so easy to offend people. If you did not want to play tonight, I apologize, and I hope that is enough. But we didn't play it during his appearance. We played it during my wrap-up, and yeah. Oops. Did we talk about it? I must have been drunk, Prag Magic, and you'll have to forgive me. Look, I got to check my Twitter DMs. I don't think you said anything. Let me see. Dude, I asked you not to do that. Oh, no. No, you are incorrect. Oh, no, you're correct. I didn't know that. You said it yesterday at 3:06 a.m. That could have something to do with the fact that I don't remember it. Just don't add my music to the Zzenn show. And I did exactly. Oh, man, I feel like an a-hole now. I did exactly what Prag Magic asked me not to do. I feel terrible. Oh, no, he did. He said, please just don't use my music on the Zzenn show. All right, well, listen, we allowed you to state your objection to us using it. Oops, I really am sorry. I really wouldn't have done that if I had caught that. I did not catch you saying that. I caught you saying the later stuff, and I remember, but I did not catch you saying, please don't use my music on the Zzenn show, or I certainly wouldn't have done that. You really screwed the pooch on this one, Stephen. Are you talking about the Prag Magic affair? Yeah. He asked me, he said it right in Twitter DMs. Look, he said, yeah, just don't add my music to the Zzenn show, please. You can use it any other time. Just please don't use it on the Zzenn show. And what did I do? I used it on the Zzenn show. I'm a terrible show host. And yeah. Well, listen, Prag Magic, I will use it on another show. And I apologize for using it on one that you specifically told me not to. I really did miss that. I would not have intentionally used that music if I had known that you had previously objected to using it on tonight's show. But and please don't make me like download this video and edit it out and upload it again, because that's going to take hours that I don't have. We'll just have to oh yeah, he says it's fine, thanks for the platform. Yeah, so it's not the end of the world. I've done worse things on stream than do that. It's all good. We talked more about it, and I went for a road to redemption. Thanks for it in any case. It's okay. You forgot, no biggie. Good. Yeah. Yeah, I don't need any more people pissed off at me. Yeah, exactly. Six of Design. See? Yeah, he says, it was technically after Zzenn left, and it sure wasn't intentional. No, it wasn't, so I apologize. Yeah. So I want to thank all the Patreon supporters. I want to thank all the PayPal donators. I want to thank all the super chatters, and I want to thank all the live chat moderators and participants tonight. I'm always happy when there's an audience, friends. I have had literal nightmares about showing up to do the stream and there was nobody in the live chat. But I've been very fortunate in that usually when I do a show, there is an audience, and that audience is getting better and bigger lately, which is really exciting for me to see the show start to begin. You know, I used to be fond of that saying that I come here every day and water this garden. For certainly, if I continue to water this garden will grow. And it has been growing lately. And it's great to see that, you know, hard work really does pay off. And those seeds you sow, you know, months ago, eventually will bring you to some kind of harvest. The energy, the dedication, the time, the effort involved really does pay off if you continue to work at it. And the success of the show has been not just my success, has been thanks to all the great guests and supporters and live chat participants and people who are donating money, helping me get microphones and webcams and backdrops or whatever we needed to do this. It's really been an amazing journey so far. And honestly, I can say that out of everything I've done creatively, this has been probably my favorite of all the things I've done creatively or artistically or as a performer, I guess, right? Being in a rock band, doing magic shows, being like a radio show host. This has been my favorite. I really enjoy this format. The live show format keeps me on my toes because anything could happen, right? You never know what's going to happen. I got off tangent there, but I was trying to say I'm always happy when there's an audience, and I'm glad that you guys could be here tonight and be a part of mine. I'm sorry if anybody is upset or offended that I did this thing with Zzenn tonight, but I truly do believe in a road to redemption for all people. And I'm going to pray that, that people forgive him, that he forgives himself for past transgressions, and that he moves along, and does better. And that's all I can hope for any man. I mean, we're all human. We're all going to do stupid things, and I'm sorry if he did hurt you. I apologize for him. I really do wish a road to redemption for all men. And I hope that he finds his. And with that being said, friends, I will bid you good night. So good night, and God bless all of you.
so they told us. Uncovering the truth and discovering the proof only obvious. I slowly trace my fingertips around your legs up to your lips, navigating voice, breathing out my name. We are one, only we are one. Professing of our nights and professing of our rights, ever growing. Fusion of our roles and the union of our souls overflowing. Tenderly embrace my will, surrounding all emotions filled, consummating choice, reaching heaven's gate. We are one, only we are one. Now that we have begun, the light will shine around the love, transcending us around.